Smiling mask bonus effect. Upon wearing, all attributes increase by 1/5 of the wearer's base value. Negative effect. Wearing for more than 10 minutes at a time causes continuous spiritual erosion and strongly attracts high-level aberrations to actively hunt the wearer. Description: young man, do you crave power? Put it on. Become one of us. This is an entirely black mask with a minimalist design. Only a calm, upward, curving smile is outlined on its surface. Its eye sockets are bottomless voids. Gazing into them creates a suction, like pull that drags one's vision deeper into darkness. Reading the system description for the mask, a flicker of satisfaction crosses his eyes. A 1/5 attribute boost. The higher one's level, the more formidable this 1/5 bonus becomes. Once his attributes grow further, this will turn into a growth-oriented divine artifact. As for the side effect of drawing active pursuit from high-level aberrations, he lets out a cold snort. His real body will never touch it, but he has avatars. Even if aberrations come chasing, they will only hunt down the avatar and cannot harm his true form in the slightest. He tucks the mask into his backpack and begins sorting through his loot from the recent kill. Coins times 10, level 5 counterattack, blueprint times 1, spirit crystal times 150. Limu stares at his surroundings, dumbfounded. That's all. He frowns, scanning the snow-covered ground splattered with black, red flesh. No more glowing items can be found anywhere. He would rather believe the blast sent supplies flying than accept that an aberration dropped so little. Suddenly, Limu's vision blurs, and he staggers half a step. Steadying himself, he notices his severed limbs are bleeding non-stop. In just this short time, his health has nearly hit 0. I can't bleed out right now. Sitting down on the ground, he takes out a piece of wood and pulls out a lighter to ignite it. Violent wind howls without pause. Damn, I wish this was windproof. After great difficulty, he finally gets the fire going. Limu looks at the snow-dusted stumps of his arm and thigh, then presses the burning flame directly against the wounds. Sizzle, white smoke billows, and the acrid stench of burnt flesh drifts toward him. Limu groans, veins bulging on his forehead as cold sweat soaks through his back. Why does it still hurt so much even after pain reduction? The scorched, curling nerve endings leave his whole body tingling. Relief washes over him as his health stabilizes at 18 points. Pushing himself upright with a knife, he hops forward on one leg at a snail's pace. This will not do. He is losing too much time. He pulls the black smiling mask from his backpack. Time to test this thing out. The instant he presses it to his face, the mask seems alive, drawing inward to cling seamlessly to his skin. The immediate attribute boost makes his movements far more agile. Waves of spiritual corruption assail him. Yet Limu barely feels anything, as if the corruption itself has been weakened. Footsteps echo from up ahead. Limu squints through the wind-driven snow, surprised. A human. Elsewhere, inside a dim 20-square-meter room, Iron Tiger is wrapped head to toe in bandages, fresh blood seeping through his lower body dressings. Ever since his brutal beating at Limu's hands, his underlings carried him back, and he has not left his bed. Unable to accept his grievous injury, he keeps glancing down every few seconds, almost driven mad. Several chained, filthy women huddle on the floor nearby. They watch his pitiful state, undisguised mockery in their eyes. One subordinate speaks softly. Boss, I keep monitoring the trade house. Only one of the men we sent out has not returned. He is most likely dead. Iron Tiger's eyes flash with rage. Missing teeth make his speech muddled and garbled as he roars. Get out. I told you to find healing items. I do not care if they die. Saliva drips from his gaping mouth. All his former menace is gone, replaced by ridiculous misery. In the past, the subordinate would cower beneath such fury. Now, seeing Iron Tiger's condition, most of his fear and respect for the leader fades away. He replies calmly, with no trace of deference. Boss, the men are searching non-stop, even venturing out during nights when supplies are more abundant. But the blizzard is brutal, and night-time monsters have already cost us many men. If this continues, the others will start to grow resentful. Iron Tiger flies into a greater rage. I gave them women and supplies. How dare they complain? Send them out again. Tell them not to come back until they find what I want. His outburst tears open his wound. Pus soaks through the gauze. He gasps in agony, cold sweat covering his forehead. The subordinate nods and leaves without another word. Once outside the door, resentment shows plainly on his face. Staring at the retreating figure, Iron Tiger seethes. Limu, I will make you pay. And that woman Lu Lan. If she had not held that stupid meeting, none of this would have happened. Catching sight of hidden smiles on the chained women's faces, his anger flares. He grins viciously. Come here. Do not think I cannot still deal with you just because I am injured. He snarls and reaches for his lower body bandages. Amid the snowstorm, Limu stares at the approaching figure. The aura is undeniably human. But who would venture out under these conditions? The other man spots Limu, a masked, maimed figure limping through the snow. At first he thinks he has encountered a monster. Realizing it is a human, he hurries forward, reaching out to offer support. Buddy, what happened to you? Limu twists aside, evading his hand. The man blinks, surprised at how agile this badly injured person is. He assumes Limu is simply too proud to accept help. You must be forced out to scavenge for supplies. You are hurt this badly and still out here. You have really been through hell. Scavenge for supplies? Limu finds the thought faintly amusing. This man takes him for some oppressed survivor. He feels sorry for this stranger, sent out to search in the middle of the night. Limu nods without speaking and keeps walking. Watching Limu's broken form, the man feels genuine pity. Then a surge of overwhelming guilt washes over him. What loyalty? Out here even hurt like this. I have always made excuses before. Damn it. He slaps his own cheek. I am such a coward. He watches Limu's limping figure recede, clenches his fists, and thumps his chest solemnly. A gust of freezing wind makes him shiver, and he hurries back toward a building. Limu hears the sharp slap behind him and flinches. Glancing backward, he sees the man slapping himself, filled with misplaced reverence. He quickens his pace. This guy must be out of his mind. Deeper into the city, Limu senses heavy, oppressive presences. Monsters grow far stronger after dark, yet richer supplies lie waiting. Countless white, green, and blue glows his field of vision, growing denser further inward. The feeling of being watched intensifies. Horrible, unknown creatures crawl across surrounding walls in the darkness. Purple glows appear not far off, and a single golden glimmer shines from a distant ruined high-rise. A sound like scraping metal echoes. Limu sees a 3-meter-tall mantis, like beast with 10 legs emitting the noise, drawing steadily closer. He dares not provoke it. Hugging the wall, he moves forward as quietly as he can. Snarls of battling monsters and the sound of tearing flesh ring out through the night. Snap! Pain stabs his neck. Limu grabs at it. A finger, thick worm, like creature ringed with sharp fangs is clamped to his skin, writhing violently. Gross. He yanks it free, hurls it into the snow, and crushes it under his boot. He looks up. The walls on both sides are covered in countless identical worms. Spurred by the commotion, they all begin to squirm. Limu tenses to retreat when numbness spreads across his body. His limbs stiffen. Poison. He yanks off the smiling mask and stows it in his backpack. Off in the distance, 2 monsters finish their fight. A glowing item lies beside their corpses. Using his ability, Limu teleports the object into his backpack. Right before his consciousness fades, he hears the system prompt. Today's entry has refreshed. Inside a bright bedroom, Liang Yun and Bai Mengmeng sit on either side of the bed, gazing worriedly at Limu, whose eyes are closed. Simultaneously, faint text pops up in both of their fields of view. Experience plus 40. Liang Yun blinks in shock, opening her panel to double check. She nudges Bai Mengmeng's arm and whispers, Mengmeng, did you also? Bai Mengmeng blinks and nods in confusion. Yes, I got 40 extra experience, but we did not fight any monsters. They exchange glances and look back toward Limu. They understand. The experience comes through their party link, earned when Limu defeated the wall-dwelling aberration. The next instant, Limu opens his eyes. Today's entry has refreshed. I love bathing. My skin feels great. Every bath grants a tiny permanent boost to looks and charm. Limu ignores the entry entirely, focusing on the item his avatar secured before falling. The 2 monsters had clashed with immense power. Their drop ought to be valuable. He concentrates, and a blueprint materializes in his hand. Basic auto, defense arrow tower. Construction materials required. Coins times 50, steel times 148, wood times 165, heart of defense times 1, spirit crystal times 100. Heart of defense? Limu frowns. Another rare material he has never seen. Still, this is unquestionably a powerful defensive weapon. Unease creeps over him. Judging by its material costs, the tower is built to withstand swarms of monsters. He has long wondered why only small numbers of creatures attack their building. Now a theory forms in his mind. It is not that hordes will never come. The time has simply not yet arrived. Anxiety stirs within him. Their current safety measures are far too weak. Master. A soft voice pulls him back to reality. Limu lifts his head to find Liang Yun and Bai Mengmeng staring straight at him. He blinks, and the 2 girls blink back. He chuckles. What is it? Did coins sprout on my face? By Ming Ming speaks first, eyes bright. Brotherly, I received experience points. Did you take care of that creature? Li Mu nods and briefly recounts what his avatar experienced out in the wild. Liang Yin notices the exhaustion in his features. Knowing his avatar failed to return, she understands he endured terrible danger. She steps forward and takes his arm, her tone gentle. Master, take a hot bath and rest. Warmth fills Li Mu's chest. He nods slowly. Bai Mingming watches Liang Yun help Li Mu toward the bathroom. The door clicks shut. She freezes on the spot, her cheeks flushing bright red. Huh, why are they going in together? She curls up on the sofa, twisting the hem of her clothes and forcing herself to push inappropriate thoughts away. Steam fills the bathroom. Li Mu is surprised Liang Yun has followed him inside, but says nothing, curious about what she intends to do. Sometime later, Bai Mingming lies on the sofa, listening to sounds from the bathroom. Presently, fully refreshed, Li Mu returns to bed and quickly drifts off to sleep. Early the next morning, noise stirs in the hallway. Residents step out wrapped in thick layers, faces sallow with cold, shivering. Chen Yao stares hard at Li Mu's door, her brows drawn tight. Ho San, the vulgar man who cursed Li Mu, grows excited seeing that Li Mu never came home all night. He hurries over to LV Jean, rubbing his hands together. Captain LV, Li Mu chased out last night and has not come back. I think he is gone for good. LV Jean's eyes are bloodshot. He has not slept. The room was freezing, and he spent the whole night tending a fire, terrified it would die out. His red eyes come from smoke inhalation. Secretly, a wave of relief washes over him. Li Mu placed enormous pressure on him. If Li Mu perishes outside, only the fool Zhang Bo would remain as a rival. Still, he puts on a sorrowful expression and sighs. Alas, he was far too reckless. That aberration escaped. There was no need to chase it out into the dark. Wang Nan walks over, gazing at Li Mu's door with genuine sorrow. Without Li Mu, who will give us ham sausages? Chen Yao refuses to believe Li Mu is dead. She herself has survived nights out in the open, and she trusts Li Mu could do the same. Ho Sen leans forward. If Li Mu is most likely dead, all those supplies inside his room cannot just rot away. That would be such a waste. We ought to share them for everyone's sake. LV Jean puts on a troubled look. It has only been one night. He might still return today. Besides, 2 women remain inside his quarters. What would become of them if we seize his supplies? The vulgar man smirks and licks his lips. Without a man to protect them, they will not last long out here. They will have to trade for food soon enough. When they come out, we force the door open. All those fine things will belong to us. Several men's eyes light up at his words. Compared to the haggard women on other floors, Liang Yun and Bai Ming are clean and beautiful. Many crave them. Some hesitate and step backward. That is wrong. What if Li Mu comes back? You all know what he is capable of. LV Jean frowns, unwilling to openly endorse such conduct and ruin his reputation. Enough of this talk. One night missing does not mean he is dead. Wait a while longer. Drop this subject and do not speak of it again. Inside the apartment, Liang Yun has woken already. She glances at Li Mu, still fast asleep. Normally, he is the first to rise. The toll on his avatar has clearly drained his real world body. Muffled voices drift in from the hallway. Her brows knit together. She dresses warmly and climbs out of bed. Passing the sofa, she gently lifts Bai Ming, who has slipped onto the floor, tucking a blanket around her. Then she opens the door and steps outside. Conversation in the corridor dies instantly. Every pair of eyes locks onto Liang Yun. Her skin looks fresh and glowing, a stark contrast to the haggard, chapped, lipped survivors around her. Greed simmers in many gazes, yet everyone falls silent. Liang Yun frowns at their odd behavior. What were you all discussing? LV Jean forces a laugh. Nothing much. Just talking about the wall-dwelling aberration from yesterday. Liang Yun feels something is off about their attitudes. Bai Ming emerges yawning. Sister Liang, you are awake so early. She gets ready to begin her daily healing work. Seeing both women out in the open, multiple gazes turn hostile. They dare not strike yet. If the girls run back inside, the level 5 door will block them completely. The crowd heads for the ground floor hall. Liang Yun watches Bai Ming walk downstairs, narrows her eyes, and follows. By willpower, the crossbow Li Mu repaired for her materializes silently in her hands. Down on the first floor, Bai Ming stacks pieces of wood to make simple stools and sits down. A rumor quietly spreads among the shivering survivors. Li Mu is dead. Though freezing and pale, many leer openly at the 2 women by the wall. Ho San's eyes roam over Liang Yun and Bai Ming. Knowing LV Jean will not act openly, he spots Zhang Bo and gets an idea. He scurries over. Brother Zhang, I have huge news. Zhang Bo spent a sleepless night terrified by the wall, dwelling aberration and frozen to the bone. Annoyed, he glares at Ho-san. What good news could there possibly be? Get lost. Ho-san hurries after him and whispers in his ear. Brother Zhang, Li Mu is dead. What? Zhang Bo freezes, his brows tightening sharply. Do not drag me into your nonsense. You cannot say things like that. It is true, Brother Zhang. Ho-san recounts the events of the previous night. Zhang Bo's heart stirs with temptation, yet he frowns deeper. What does LV Zhang say? Ho-san speaks excitedly. Captain LV told us not to talk about it. He is just scared. Li Mu is gone right now. If we take control of those two women, his quarters and all his supplies will be ours, Brother Zhang. He glances toward the two women. Zhang Bo follows his gaze. Liang Yun stays calm, and Bai Mengmeng carries out her healing work without panic. He thinks to himself, they hardly act like people whose protector has died. And this man works for LV Zhang. Could this be some scheme set up by one of LV Zhang's lackeys? He wanted to get rid of me, so he could become Li Mo's top follower. If Li Mo were truly dead, there is no way those two women would be so calm. It was even possible Li Mo had orchestrated all this to weed out disloyal people. He was no fool. The more he thought about it, the more convinced he became. Zhang Bo wore an expression as if he had seen through everything. Try to trick me into taking the bait. Not a chance. I will be Li Mo's man for the rest of my life. Even if he dies, I will stand by him. Save your attempts to turn me against him. With that, he ignored Ho-san and walked away. Ho-san froze in place, staring at Zhang Bo's retreating back, thoroughly confused. What on earth is going on? Why is everyone putting on such a loyal act show? He clearly remembered Zhang Bo was the biggest opportunist around. Where had this sudden backbone come from? He spat, a vicious glint flashing in his eyes. Useless cowards, too scared to take a risk and break free. This is my shot to turn my life around. With that thought, Ho-san went on to persuade the others. In the end, only a handful of people agreed to follow him. Most of the rest stood on the fence. Tempted, yet wary, they waited for someone else to make the first move. Believing he had enough men, Ho-san led his group over toward the two women. At that moment, quite a few survivors stood before Bai Mengmeng, offering supplies in exchange for her healing. Seeing the new crowd approach, she did not look up. Line up for treatment. Don't push. Ho-san ignored her. He led his men and came to a halt directly in front of the two women, surrounding them. Liang Yun saw exactly what was happening. Her expression darkened, and confusion welled inside her. Had these people lost their minds? Did they not fear what Li Mo would do to them? Ho-san stepped forward and roughly shoved aside a man waiting to have frostbite treated. Liang Yun immediately raised her crossbow and aimed it at him. What do you want? Bai Mengmeng jumped down from the log. Her cheeks puffed out as she stared at the newcomers. I told you to line up. Can't you understand? The commotion quickly drew every eye in the hall. LV Zhang frowned and looked over, yet made no move to intervene, clearly choosing to observe how things unfolded. Zhang Bo looked on in disbelief. Damn, this guy is really going for it. Trying to drag me into trouble by making the first move himself. Ho-san looked at the crossbow in Liang Yun's hands, and instead of fear, grinned. Stop pretending. Li Mo died out there in the night. What are you two still putting up a front for? Huh? Bai Mengmeng blinked, thoroughly confused. Li Mo was dead? No one had told her that. Hearing his words, Liang Yun finally understood. They had seen Li Mo's avatar leave the building the night before and never return. So they had assumed Li Mo had perished and come to take advantage of the chaos. She let out a cold laugh. Who told you Li Mo is dead? Leave now, while you still can. Once he comes down, you will not get away. Even as she spoke, she quickly opened her system panel and sent Li Mo a private message. Ho-san and his men advanced another step. I watched him chase outside myself. He never came back. He is dead, eaten by monsters out in the snow. At the sight of Liang Yun's crossbow, excitement stirred inside him, another valuable piece of gear for him to seize. Put the weapon down and unlock that room. Maybe we will go easy on you. Several of the men behind him laughed maliciously. All lingering fear of Li Mo had been washed away by greed. Bai Mengmeng finally grasped that these people meant them harm. She pulled a weapon out of her backpack and met their gaze sharply. Ever since she had fought and killed before, her mindset had shifted. She was no longer a helpless girl who could only cry. In the crowd, Ning Yin gripped Yi Qingyin's arm tightly. Teacher Yi, don't get involved. There are too many of them. Yi Qingyin pulled herself free. Mengmeng is my student. I cannot stand by and watch her get hurt. She pushed her way through the crowd and stepped between the two women and the mob, spreading her arms to shield them. Her voice trembled, yet held firm resolve. Stop this. Taking advantage of others in misfortune, Have you no decency? Oh, another one throwing herself right into this. Hosan sneered and raised his hand, slapping her hard across the face. Crack! The sharp sound rang out, and Yi Qingyin crumpled to the floor. Get out of my way. We will deal with you after we finish with them. Teacher. Bai Mingming hurried over to help her up. Chun Yao watched the scene unfold, her brows drawing together as she tightened her grip on a short blade. Liang Yun's expression turned ice, cold. Li Mo is inside this building. He will be down any second. Think carefully about what you are doing. Upstairs in his room, Li Mo was jolted awake by the constant stream of message alerts ringing inside his head. He sat up, read through Liang Yun's message, and his face turned cold. Huh, dead. He let out a low chuckle, his tone unreadable. Perfect. I want to see exactly who dares try to seize what belongs to me. He threw on a coat, opened the door, and walked out. With his current stats, the frigid air in the stairwell no longer bothered him. As soon as he reached the ground floor hall, noise washed over him. Li Mo lifted his gaze and saw the three women surrounded, as well as Hosan's arrogant face. His expression grew even colder, and a menacing aura radiated off him. He said nothing, walking slowly forward. Those closest to him caught sight of his face first. Their eyes went wide, and they shrank backward instinctively. All whispering died out. An eerie silence fell over the hall. Only Hosan kept ranting loudly. Several people who lived on the same floor stared in shock. They had watched Li Mo chase outside the night before. How was he coming down from upstairs? Zhang Bo folded his arms, wearing an "I knew it" look, watching Hosan and his group with open pity. The moment Liang Yun and Bai Mengmeng spotted him, the tension drained out of their bodies. Li Mo kept walking until he stood right behind Hosan's men. Frigid glint shone in his eyes, and his upgraded, powerful physique loomed over Hosan. Blinded by arrogance, Hosan failed to notice the sudden hush all around him. He kept jeering at Liang Yun. Oh yeah? Then call him down. Let him come. Do you really scare me? He is just some fool who died out there. His voice cut off mid-sentence. A deep, icy voice spoke slowly from directly behind him. You were looking for me? That familiar, bone-chilling sound rang out. In an instant, Hosan knew exactly who stood behind him. Hosan would swear it was the most terrifying moment of his life. Warm urine streamed down his legs, and his knees shook uncontrollably. He did not even have the strength to turn his head. A large hand pressed down hard on top of his skull. He opened his mouth to beg for mercy. In the next instant, his eyeballs bulged with blood. Boom. A dull, gory crash echoed. Blood sprayed everywhere. Li Mo's expression remained cold. He grabbed Hosan by the ragged remains of his neck, twisted, and swung with all his strength. Hosan flew through the unit door like a cannonball, tumbling across the snow as limp as a rag. Staring at the headless corpse outside, none of the people in the hall cared about the bitter wind blowing in. Everyone's legs turned to jelly. Li Mo walked toward the rest of Hosan's followers. Warm blood dripped from his body, faint steam rising off him. The heavy stench of blood spread with every step he took. The man at the front craned his neck upward. He saw Li Mo covered in blood, only his terrifying eyes visible through the red stains. Faced with this demonic figure, the man shook violently, saliva dribbling down his chin. It. He could not form a complete sentence. His eyes rolled back, and he fainted dead from fright. Surly. Spare us, Surly. It was all Hosan's idea. He goaded us into this. The remaining men scrambled backward, throwing themselves onto the floor and kowtowing hard enough to draw blood from their foreheads. Li Mo stayed silent. He frowned, a mocking look crossing his face as he kept advancing. He wagged his index finger back and forth in front of his chest. Shadow fell over the kneeling men, and despair crept across their faces. In the next second, Li Mo seized one man by the throat. His fingers clamped shut with brutal force. The sharp sound of cracking bones carried clearly through the hall. He twisted and pulled, tearing the man's spine free along with flesh and blood. The man collapsed onto the floor, convulsing once before falling still. The rest of Hosan's men met equally brutal ends. A terrible silence hung over the hall, broken only by the howl of wind and snow outside. Even though they had grown accustomed to death in the end times, everyone turned pale witnessing the carnage. Many fought hard to keep from vomiting, terrified of drawing Li Mo's attention. Though Liang Yun knew Li Mo would not harm her, fear stirred within her as she watched him. Beside her, Bai Mengmeng watched Li Mo defeat their enemies, eyes shining with excitement. She felt no fear at all, a faint flush rising to her cheeks. Once he had dealt with the last attacker, Li Mo took a deep breath. It had been a long time since he had fought in his own body. This unbridled power felt exhilarating. He wiped blood off his face. The thick metallic scent filled his nostrils, and he found himself oddly drawn to it. Master, a soft call pulled him back to his senses. Liam O turned and saw the trace of fear hidden in Liang Yun's eyes. A jolt ran through him. He glanced down at his blood-soaked hands and frowned sharply. Something was wrong. Had he always been this bloodthirsty? He had always been ruthless, yet he had never reveled in slaughter like this. He thought back to how abnormally drowsy he had been that morning. All these strange details clicked into place. It was that smiling mask. He recalled its description. Put it on. Become one of us. He had thought it held little influence over him, yet its effect had been insidious, changing him without him noticing. Seeing the terror on everyone's faces, Liam O wiped his mouth on a clean patch of his clothing. He did not want to speak with blood all over his lips. Zhang Bo LV Zhan. Come out here. Still stunned by the violence unfolding before them, the two men trembled as they stepped forward to stand before Liam O. Zhang Bo dared not lift his eyes. What he had just seen had shaken him to his core. Surly. Beside him, LV Zhan also bowed his head, addressing him with the new title for the first time. Surly, what are your orders? Liam O looked at them and smeared his blood-covered hands across both of their faces. These people dared move against those under my protection. Which one of you gave them the go-ahead? Alarm shot through both men. Zhang Bo spoke first. Surly, you know me. I am utterly loyal to you. I would never do something like this. LV Zhan followed quickly. Surly, ever since I came here I have only looked out for everyone. I would never scheme such a vile thing. Liam O narrowed his eyes at the two men. So this had nothing to do with either of you? Exactly, Surly. Ho-Sen was the fool who acted out of reckless greed. This has absolutely nothing to do with us. Liam O let out a cold huff. Even if Ho-San had organized everything, these two had chosen to do nothing to stop it. Had they truly wanted to intervene, Ho-Sen would never have gathered followers. Both had waited to watch how events unfolded. If they had confirmed Liam O was truly dead, they would have turned against him without hesitation. Liam O slapped both of them hard. The force swelled their cheeks instantly. Neither dared dodge or flinch. Zhang Bo even spoke up. You are right to strike us, Surly. We failed to maintain order and deserve this punishment. Liam O lost interest in pressing the matter. Besides, his clothes were sticky with drying blood, making him deeply uncomfortable. He badly needed to clean up. Enough. Get out of my sight. LV Zhan and Zhang Bo hurried away. Liam O turned toward the three women standing nearby and walked over, his tone softening. Are you all right? He glanced at Yi Qingyin, whose left cheek was swollen from the blow. He had not expected her to show such courage, stepping forward regardless of the odds stacked against her. Master, are you all right? Seeing how cautious Liang Yun was acting, Liam O gave a faint smile. I am fine. It is side effects from that mask. That is also why I slept in this morning. Relief washed over Liang Yun as she saw him return to his usual self, and a smile came back to her face. Watching everything unfold, Ningyan felt a flicker of envy. She longed for the feeling of being protected like that. Ever since her parents died, she had been starved for safety, which was why she leaned so heavily on Yi Qingyin. If only Liam O could be her partner. She smoothed her messy hair subconsciously, her gaze lingering on him with unspoken longing. Just then, a cool female voice echoed from the entrance leading down to the underground parking garage. It seems I have arrived at an inopportune moment. Liam O turned his head. Three figures walked up from the garage, one of whom he recognized. Lu Lan. The moment Lu Lan stepped into the hall, her gaze locked onto Bai Meng Meng, a glint of interest flashing across her eyes. But when she caught sight of Li Mo covered in blood, her eyes twitched despite herself. She had seen Li Mo's cruelty before, yet she had never imagined him capable of such savagery. Inside her mind, she raised his danger rating yet again. Behind her, her two burly bodyguards widened their eyes, tightening their grip on their weapons. It looks like you were handling internal trouble, Liam O. Liang Yun's eyes narrowed at Lu Lan. What was this woman doing here? Liam O cut straight to the point. Lu Lan, what brings you here? Lu Lan glanced around at the blood-stained wreckage and arched an eyebrow. I came with important business. Are we going to talk right here? Liam O looked at the gory scene all around. Follow me. They headed upstairs and stopped outside Li Mo's room. Seeing he made no move to let her inside, Lu Lan chuckled. What? Afraid I might do something to bang. Lu Lan. Before she could finish speaking, the door slammed shut in her face. Inside the room, Liam O quickly washed all the blood off his body and changed into clean clothes. Only then did he open the door again. He glanced at the three people waiting outside. You come in alone. The two bodyguards spoke at once. Lan, but it is fine. Lu Lan waved them off. Helpless, the two men stood guard outside Li Mo's closed door. Only a few seconds passed before one of them muttered in surprise. Do you feel that? It is suddenly much warmer. I was just about to say the same. The other man rubbed his arms. This spot is several degrees warmer than the rest of the stairwell. They exchanged glances and looked toward the shut door. Neither said a word, yet their respect deepened. Inside the room, Lulan appeared calm as she took in her surroundings, though shock roiled beneath the surface. As the person in charge of Building 2, she already enjoyed fairly good living quarters, yet compared to this place, hers felt shabby. Especially the air conditioner mounted high on the window, blowing out cool air, an extremely rare luxury in this world. She still wore her heavy winter coat, yet soon a thin layer of sweat formed on her skin. Liamo, you truly hide your resources well. Lulan unbuttoned her coat, striving to keep her tone even. Seeing her struggle to maintain composure, Liamo smiled inwardly. Get to the point. What business brings you all the way here? He sat down on the soft sofa and pulled out several cans of cola. Bai Mengming's eyes lit up. She took one, popped the tab open, and drank happily, squinting in satisfaction. Lulan's gaze snapped to the cans on the table. Her voice wavered slightly. Is that cola? The next instant, an opened can fizzed with tiny bubbles as it was slid across the table toward her. Liang Yun walked over naturally and leaned against Li Mo's side, half resting against him. When she looked toward Lulan, her posture made her bond with Li Mo clear for all to see. Lulan stared at the fizzing cola set before her and swallowed hard. She could not remember the last time she had seen such a thing. Back before the end of the world, as a company CEO, she had never cared for sugary sodas. Now, her fingers brushed the cold metal can, and it felt almost surreal. She took small sips. Even warm, she closed her eyes and savored the taste, momentarily forgetting why she had come. Ahem. Liamo knocked his knuckles against the table, pulling her back from her daze. Noticing the odd looks directed at her, she set down the can, though she kept hold of it. True to her former CEO background, she showed no embarrassment over her moment of distraction. I came for 2 reasons. Lulan's eyes still wandered across the room. First, we found what we call a mine tunnel on the edge of the city. Liamo frowned. A mine tunnel? Lulan explained. That is just our nickname. It is actually an entrance to an abandoned underground railway. The space inside is huge, full of usable supplies. Most importantly, large amounts of spirit crystals grow there. As you well know, spirit crystals can only be obtained by killing monsters or opening high-level treasure chests. They are incredibly scarce. You can mine them directly in that place. It is practically a treasure trove. Liamo stroked the arm of the sofa, deep in thought. Spirit crystals had long been in short supply. Hunting monsters for them carried a high risk of death, and high-ranked chests were always guarded by powerful beasts. This tunnel could ease their shortage greatly. It must be very dangerous there. Correct. Many monsters roam inside, though individually they are not overly strong. Compared to other ways of getting spirit crystals, it is far less deadly. Liamo nodded, then changed the subject. This is such a valuable find. Why come to me? Lulan smiled, her eyes drifting toward Bai Mengming. That brings me to my second point. Though the monsters are weak, injuries, cuts, and poison are commonplace down there. We lack someone with a healing talent. Her meaning was plain. She turned toward Bai Mengming, who was still happily drinking her cola. Bai Mengming enjoyed her drink until she noticed the room go quiet. She opened her eyes and found everyone staring straight at her. She looked thoroughly confused. Liamo sneered inwardly. All that lead up, and this had been Lulan's real objective all along. Liamo spoke directly. You want Mengming to treat those people? It's employment. We won't make her work for nothing. Besides, she'll only stay inside the building, so there's no need to worry about safety. Under Lulan's predatory gaze, Bai Mengming felt as if she was being targeted by a hunter. Made uneasy by the stare, Bai Mengming edged closer to Liamo. Liamo listened to Lulan and said, that depends on whether Mengming agrees. Also, when you said we, do the other buildings have a stake in this too? This location isn't exclusive to my building. To be honest, there are many other underground entrances. This one just happens to be the closest. Liamo nodded slightly, already forming a plan in his mind. For one thing, he had clones, so his safety was guaranteed. For another, this underground passage was clearly a subway tunnel. It most likely led straight to the city center. He could travel underground and avoid the terrifying monsters roaming above ground entirely. Moreover, the pseudo-humans he had imprisoned could finally be put to use, working as forced labor. Standing beside them, Liang Yun barely paid attention to their serious discussion. Leaning against Liamo, she kept observing this woman the whole time. At first she thought the woman was after Liamo, but after watching for a long while, she noticed 8 out of 10 of Lulan's glances landed on Bai Mengming. It looked much the same way she herself looked at Li Mo. Liang Yun blinked. Curiosity stirred within her. She stared in astonishment at the two women. No way. Had she stumbled onto some big secret? Li Mo turned toward Bai Mingming. Mingming, what do you think? Bai Mingming glanced up at him, then at Lu Lan. She tilted her head and thought for 2 seconds before saying earnestly, "Sure, as long as the pay is good." A deeper smile spread across Lu Lan's eyes. She stood up at once. "If that's settled, we leave right now." "Right now?" Lu Lan raised an eyebrow at him. "Why? Do you have some concerns?" Liamo tapped his fingertips lightly against the armrest of the sofa, his plan fully taking shape. He lifted his gaze and spoke in a calm tone. "No real concerns. I just need to bring several of my people along. I'll give you leeway for your people. I won't take a cut from them. Everything else follows the rules. I take a 20% management fee. Get ready quickly. I'll wait for you in the conference room in the underground parking garage." When the two bodyguards outside saw Lu Lan come out, they hurried after her. "Sister Lan, how did it go?" "Everything went according to plan. With people from the other buildings involved, we should be able to map out the full route." Truth be told, there was another reason she had come to find Li Mo besides Bai Mingming. She wanted to send a large group down the underground passage to figure out the overall state of the city. Inside the room, once Lu Lan left, Li Mo summoned his clone and carried a crate of ham sausages out of a storage box. He went down to the first floor. Only a small number of people remained in the main hall. Most had already headed into the city to scavenge for supplies. Li Mo found Lu Zhan directly. "Why are you the only one here? Where's Zhang Bo?" "He took a group out to look for supplies. He probably won't be back until this afternoon. Gather everyone you can find in the main hall right away. I have an announcement to make." Li Mo's words carried the weight of an order. Lu Zhan did not dare delay for a second and turned to round people up. Moments later, a dense crowd filled the hall, murmuring and whispering among themselves. "Look at that crate by Master Li's feet. It's square-shaped. Could it be ham sausages? It looks like one, but would they assemble such a big crowd just to hand out food?" All eyes turned toward Li Mo, a mix of anticipation and nervousness on everyone's faces. Li Mo raised a hand to quiet them, and the hall fell silent instantly. "Quiet down. First of all, the ham sausages I promised you. Come collect yours from Lu Zhan shortly." At his words, low cheers broke out across the crowd. Everyone's eyes lit up. "I've got another piece of good news. The woman who visited earlier is the person in charge of other residential buildings. She found an underground passage where spirit crystals can be mined." Surprise flashed across everyone's faces. Of course, it won't be free. That woman originally planned to take 60% of everything mined. But I negotiated a better deal. When you go to work there, you hand 50% of your finds over to me. Everything else is yours to keep. 50%? That was 10% less than the original 60%. Excitement surged through the crowd, and cheers could barely be held back. "Amazing. Spirit crystals let us upgrade our doors. No more risking our lives fighting monsters." Standing below the platform, Lu Zhan watched the composed Li Mo. With just a few sentences, he held every person's motivation firmly in his grasp. Seeing this, Li Mo smiled. That was more like it, another batch of people working for him. Li Mo told Lu Zhan to stay behind and distribute the ham sausages, then headed for the storage room where the pseudo-humans were locked up. Lu Zhan hurried after him. "How have things been in there these past few days?" "Strange. It's deathly quiet, not a sound at all." Li Mo frowned slightly, gripped the doorknob, and pushed the door open. A stench of rot mixed with cold, dank air washed over them. A grotesque sight met their eyes. More than a dozen pseudo-humans lay sprawled across the room, utterly listless. Some could barely maintain their human forms, their skin a sickly gray. It seems these creatures are starved without emotions to feed on. Disgust showed on Lu Zhan's face as he looked inside. Back when they had disguised themselves as loved ones, they had looked somewhat human. Now their true nature was laid bare. Their uncanny, almost human appearance sent chills down one's spine. Li Mo dragged 2 of them out, tied them up with rope, and marked each one. When the onlookers saw the 2 bound pseudo-humans, they instinctively stepped aside to make way. Li Mo arranged for Bai Mingming to wait by the entrance to the underground parking garage, with Liang Yun staying behind to assist in case of trouble. Then he led the large group of residents toward the agreed-upon conference room. The subordinates guarding outside the conference room in the underground garage saw the huge crowd approaching from afar. Their faces paled with fright, and they sprinted inside. "Sister Lan, trouble. A huge crowd is coming. It looks like they've come to pick a fight. You need to leave quickly." Lu Lan knitted her brows and stood up to go outside. As soon as she stepped out, she saw Li Mo at the front, followed by 30-odd people dragging 2 bound monsters. Far from panicking, A flicker of delight crossed her eyes. She scanned the crowd and felt a touch of disappointment when she did not spot Bai Mingming. How many people is this? She looked at Liu Mo with a half-smile. Liu Mo shrugged and spoke earnestly. What can I say? I'm a compassionate man. I can't bear to see everyone suffer, so I bring whoever I can along. Lu Lan clearly did not believe him, yet she did not call him out. More people meant faster exploration, which benefited her. She turned and led the way. Follow me. The entrance is behind Building 2. Before long, the group walked from the underground garage into Lu Lan's building. The atmosphere here was completely different from Building 1. Everyone was quiet and numb. Barricades were piled at the entrances, and order was strictly enforced. Several people holding spirit crystals stood in line, handing them over to a burly man. Liu Mo raised an eyebrow. Lu Lan had arrived at much the same idea as him. The surrounding residents whispered among themselves. Why has Sister Lan brought so many outsiders here? Who knows? Could they be here to steal our spirit crystals? When they walked out of the unit entrance, snow and wind whipped against their faces. Liu Mo realized he was seeing another side of the city. Suddenly, shouts of argument drifted over from nearby. A figure stumbled toward them, only to collapse halfway. Two burly men chased behind him. Upon seeing the large crowd, they slowed their steps. The young man on the ground caught sight of Lu Lan. His eyes lit up. He scrambled to his feet and rushed over. Sister Lan, you have to do something for me. Lu Lan looked unpleasantly at the two approaching men. They were not her people, but miners from other buildings. She turned to the pursuers and frowned. Wang Buiyuan, what is going on here? Sister Lan, I found a treasure chest with lots of supplies inside. But these two men tried to rob me of everything. Wang Buiyuan? Liu Mo immediately looked at the young man. He remembered this person, the one who had added him as a friend and sold him supplies at a low price before. Nonsense. One of the burly men let out a mocking laugh. Sister Lan, don't listen to this kid's lies. We two brothers found that chest first. He snuck in and stole everything while we fought monsters. The second man spoke with malice. That's right. Don't let him fool you. Wang Buiyuan trembled with rage. You're lying. That chest was mine. Lu Lan knew such disputes were hard to settle. A wrong call could strain relations between different buildings. She spread her hands, sounding annoyed. Nothing underground belongs to anyone. Who can prove who found it first? Hand over the goods. Split them evenly. That settles it. The two burly men exchanged glances, scorn flickering in their eyes. Wang Buiyuan clenched his fists, full of resentment. But Sister Lan, it really was. Are you questioning my call? Lu Lan's gaze turned cold. Gritting his teeth, Wang Buiyuan dared not argue. Reluctantly, he pulled out his supplies. The two men stepped forward, grabbed half of them, and stuffed the loot into their coats. As they walked past him, one man leaned close to Wang Buiyuan and hissed in a low voice loud enough for nearby people to hear. Kid, today's half is just interest. Next time you find something good, hand it over voluntarily, or you'll regret it. Lu Lan heard every word, yet she only frowned and said nothing. It was not worth alienating people from other buildings for one nobody. Just as the two men turned to leave, a calm, yet heavy-voiced call rang out. Wait! Lu Lan spun toward Liu Mo, completely stunned. She had not expected him to step in. Fang Ming and Fang Bai both froze. They turned to look at the man who had spoken up. First they stared in surprise, then undisguised mockery spread across their faces. Even Lu Lan had already given her ruling, yet this man dared to interfere. Lu Lan crossed her arms, looking amused. She had held back earlier to avoid offending others for Wang Buiyuan's sake. Now that Li Mo chose to intervene, she was happy to watch the drama unfold. The commotion drew residents from Building 2. People crowded around the entrance to watch. Many of them recognized the two men. They were trusted subordinates of Qian Lai from Building 5. Endowed with combat-type talents, they bullied others freely and robbed supplies from countless people. No one dared speak out against them. Quite a few onlookers had been robbed by them, yet their connections and strength kept everyone silent. Who is that guy? Has he lost his mind? He's picking a fight with the Fang brothers. He doesn't know what trouble he's getting into. Whispers were filled with pity. Everyone thought Liu Mo was asking for disaster. Wang Buiyuan grew anxious and tugged at Liu Mo's sleeve. Brother, don't be reckless. Those two are dangerous. They work for Qian Lai. Liu Mo ignored him and walked forward. The two brothers watched him approach. Hey kid, are you trying to hand over some supplies for us too? Liu Mo spoke flatly. The items Wang Buiyuan has were spotted by me first. Give them back. Hearing that, the brothers glanced at each other then burst into loud laughter, nearly doubling over. Ha ha ha, you saw it so it's yours? Are you here to rob us openly? How shameless can you be? Fang Bai leaned close to his brother, stifling laughter. Brother, isn't that exactly what we just said? You're insulting us too. Shut up. Liamo paid them no mind. Instead, he turned to Lu Lan, his tone laced with teasing. Sister Lan, you can't ignore this. After all, I spotted those goods first. Lu Lan pressed her palm against her forehead and shook her head, looking helplessly at them all. Nothing underground has an owner. I cannot take sides. How about we negotiate again, still split down the middle? Fong Ming's expression darkened. He stared at Liamo with fierce eyes. Did this man think they were pushovers? But glancing at the dozens of people behind Liamo, the brothers exchanged looks. They did not want to escalate the conflict on someone else's territory. It was only half a set of supplies anyway, none of which was originally theirs. They would back down for now and settle scores later. Fong Ming pulled half the supplies out of his coat and hurled them at Liamo. Take this and get lost. Don't let us run into you again, or you'll be sorry. Looking furious, the two turned to leave. Liamo stored the supplies in his backpack and let out a faint laugh at their retreating backs. Wang Buiyuan clenched his fists, feeling immense relief. He hurried over to Liamo. Thank you so much. Without you, I would have lost everything. Please take my share as thanks. Before he could finish speaking, Liamo sidestepped and dragged the watching Lu Zhan forward. Lu Zhan had been enjoying the show and was caught completely off guard. Liamo whispered a few words to him. After listening, Lu Zhan nodded in shock. Wait. The Fong brothers, who had only walked a short distance, halted. Their faces turned black with rage. They spun around and saw another man step out beside Liamo. Clearly, he would not let the matter drop. Damn it. Will this never end? Do you really think we're people you can push around? Man, you've picked on the wrong people. Qian Lai is our adoptive father. We are his top enforcers, and we possess combat-type talents. One blow can overwhelm most opponents. He glanced sideways at Lu Lan. Seeing her still watching with folded arms, he felt reassured as long as she stayed out of it. Liamo grew interested upon hearing this. Combat-type talents. He wanted to see exactly how strong they were. He walked straight toward the two men. Seeing Liamo closing in without retreating, Fong Ming sneered. You dare advance instead of backing off? Insolent. In the blink of an eye, he threw a punch, wind swirling around his fist. He could already picture this man's bones breaking as he fell to the ground begging for mercy. A cruel smile spread across his face. Liamo still did not dodge. People at the entrance shook their heads, some even closed their eyes. Yet Liamo's own group reacted differently. They had witnessed Liamo's terrifying power before. They felt no fear at all, only sympathy for the two brothers. Just as expected, the powerful blow was caught firmly in Liamo's right hand. All that brute force vanished without a trace. Liamo felt the impact against his palm and nodded slightly. This strike reached roughly 80% of the power of one of his clones. Not bad. Fong Ming's smile froze. How was this possible? Catching the punch was one thing, but catching it so effortlessly, as if judging its quality, that was absurd. Panic surged through him. He tried desperately to yank his fist free, yet Liamo's grip was like an iron vice, unmovable. Fong Ming twisted toward his stunned brother. Second brother, what are you doing? Help me. Fong Bai snapped out of his daze and threw a straight punch as well. Liamo caught that fist with his left hand. Looking at the two men before him, Liamo laughed. You truly are brothers. Even your punching stances are identical. With those words, he tensed both hands. Fong Bai, now trapped, understood exactly why his brother had called for help. Both men's faces turned bright red, though they bit back cries of pain. Liamo twisted his wrists. Unable to hold themselves up any longer, the two men dropped to one knee in the snow. Liamo looked down at them. Now, will you hand over everything from what I found first? On their knees, the two dared not resist. We will hand it over. Liamo put away the supplies, then shook his head. But so many people have witnessed all this. What should we do about that? Fong Ming shouted, eyes bloodshot. Don't push us too far. Liamo twisted his wrists once more. Sharp agony washed over them. We'll give you everything. Gritting their teeth, they pulled out most of their personal belongings. Liamo smiled faintly and swept all of it into his backpack, moving with practiced ease. Dead silence fell at the building entrance. Residents of Building 2 stared at one another. They had assumed Liamo would return the robbed goods to Wang Buiyuan. Instead, he had taken everything for himself. Any faint hope of cheering died instantly. Liamo released his hold and glanced back, confused by the sudden quiet. What was all the fuss about? The instant he turned away, savage fury flared in Fong Ming's eyes. Seeing Liamo's back turned, he pushed off the ground and lunged at Liamo's head. Die! Lu Lan gasped and started to shout a warning. Titan Skull activated. Stamina depleted by 1/3. Clang. A sound like metal striking metal rang out. Fong Ming's remaining good hand shattered bone by bone from the impact, and hung limp at his side. Li Mo scratched his head, then turned with a calm smile toward the stunned Fong Ming. Fong Ming stared, frozen, barely registering the pain of his broken hand. You aren't human. You're a monster. Li Mo walked slowly toward him, still smiling. Terrified, Fong Ming scrambled backward across the snow. Stay away from me. Fong Bai rushed forward to help his brother, but Li Mo kicked him flying before he could get close. Li Mo stepped in front of Fong Ming, grabbed him by the hair, and lifted him off the ground. Just as he was about to act, a shout echoed from afar. Hold your hand. Li Mo frowned and looked toward the sound. Qian Lai came running through the snow, gasping for breath, several subordinates hurrying behind him, his face full of urgency. Ever since learning about this crystal mining underground passage, Qian Lai had been overjoyed. Spirit crystals were an extremely precious resource right now. If he traded them, combined with his talent tax collecting, gaining 20% tax on every transaction. With larger yields from bigger deals, he would be able to upgrade his dwelling however he wished. He would no longer need to fear monsters. With his 2 capable enforcers, he had already daydreamed about taking charge of all these buildings. A greedy smile spread across his chubby face. Ha ha, before long, I'll be the leader of all these buildings. One of his underlings came scrambling over. Bad news, adoptive father. Fong Ming and Fong Bai are fighting someone out by the unit in trance. Qian Lai barely lifted his head, full of disdain. So what? Those 2 can overpower most people. When have they ever lost a fight? Why panic? No, adoptive father. The subordinate was nearly in tears. They're the ones getting beaten badly. Shock jolted Qian Lai. What? Why didn't you say so earlier? Without another word to the messenger, he sprinted toward the entrance. The subordinate stood there, muttering quietly. But I did tell you. And hurried after him. Qian Lai had never run so hard in his life, not even when fleeing monsters. His fat flesh jiggled as he moved. Panic filled him. Those 2 men were his main source of security. He could not afford to lose them. When he reached the entrance, he saw Fong Bai sent flying by a kick, and Fong Ming lifted off the ground by his hair like a beaten dog. Overcome with alarm, he shouted, "Hold your hand." When Li Mo turned his head, Qian Lai recognized him, and his heart sank. Li Mo, why does it have to be this dangerous man? Fong Bai, lying on the ground, teared up at the sight of his superior. Adoptive father. Save elder brother. Suspended by his hair, Fong Ming regained some confidence and struggled. Let me go? My adoptive father is here. Even if you kneel and beg now, it won't save you. Li Mo ignored Fong Ming's threats and looked at the fat man running toward them, amused. You collect so many adopted sons. Do you think you are some great figure? Qian Lai wiped sweat from his forehead and responded to Li Mo's taunt. His expression turned stiff. Li Mo, peace brings profit. This is a trivial matter. Why must it escalate like this? He turned toward Lu Lan, who still watched with folded arms, and spoke with a hint of complaint. Sister Lan, this is your territory. Why didn't you intervene? Lu Lan rolled her eyes. That fat man was quick to shift blame onto her. Fong Ming and his brother had committed countless misdeeds on her territory, treating her, a woman, with utter disregard. Now they suddenly remembered this was her domain. She avoided Qian Lai's gaze and said, I don't hold any real sway. There's nothing I can do. Seeing that Lu Lan was refusing to get involved, Qian Lai cursed her for an old fox under his breath, yet kept a smile plastered across his face. Li Mo, we have no past grudges. Regardless of who was in the wrong today, do me a favor and let him go, all right? He gritted his teeth. I won't put you in a tough spot. I'll personally give you 50 silver coins as an apology. What do you say? At the mention of 50 silver coins, Li Mo let out a scoff. How generous of you. 2 human lives are only worth 50 silver coins. Do you realize this man tried to kill me with a sneak attack? If I hadn't been tough enough, I would be dead. Qian Lai's expression darkened slightly, though he still maintained his smile. Now, let's talk this through. We can negotiate the price. Name your figure. Li Mo casually dropped Fong Ming, flicked strands of hair from his hand onto the ground in disgust, and his grin widened. Very well. I'll give you some face. Forget the 50 silver coins. 50 gold coins for my 2 adopted sons, and you can take them away. These words drew gasps from everyone present. 50 gold coins. Some of them had never even laid eyes on a gold coin. A deeper smile surfaced in Lu Lan's eyes. That fat man was going to take a heavy hit this time. She knew full well that Qian Lai had substantial wealth. The instant Qian Lai heard Li Mo's demand, his face turned completely black. Seeing Li Mo's mocking smirk, he understood he was being toyed with. Though he had some wealth, he could not afford such an outrageous sum. Li Mo, do you truly intend to burn all bridges between us? Qian Lai's voice turned cold, and his smile vanished. Li Mo shrugged, bent down, and lifted Fong Ming off the ground once more. Let go of me. Damn it, let go. Fong Ming felt as though his scalp was about to be torn off. Ignoring Fong Ming's struggles, Li Mo met Qian Lai's gaze, his tone equally frigid. It seems your adoptive father isn't willing to spend money to ransom you too. Don't worry, I'll give you a discount. A discount? Qian Lai stared at Li Mo in confusion, wondering what he planned to do. The next moment, he found out. Li Mo drew a blade and sliced cleanly through one of Fong Ming's arms. Aya! Agony tore a scream from Fong Ming. Brother! Fong Bai's eyes blazed red. He tried to lunge forward, but collapsed. The earlier kick had shattered his thigh. Li Mo tossed the severed arm onto the ground right in front of Qian Lai. He's cheaper now. 45 gold coins, and you can take both of them. Pretty good deal, isn't it? Qian Lai ground his teeth until they creaked, his fists clenched tight. Rage burned wildly in his eyes. Seeing no reaction from Qian Lai, Li Mo clicked his tongue. Guess the price is still too high. Before the words had faded, without even glancing down, he twisted his wrist and struck again. Another leg was cut off. Big discount this time. 30 gold coins. Think it over. Staring at the gravely injured Fong Ming, who lay gasping in the snow, Qian Lai was already thinking of backing down. He was a merchant who cared only for profit. The man was ruined. He would never serve as an enforcer again and would only become a burden. There was no way he would hand over gold coins for him. Yet when his eyes fell on Fong Bai, consumed with rage, unease stirred within him. If he abandoned his men here today, his other followers would lose faith in him, and the danger might turn toward himself. He opened his mouth to speak to Li Mo, but Li Mo raised his blade toward Fong Ming's neck. Shock flashed across Qian Lai's face, and he shouted urgently, "Stop!" It was too late. A head rolled to Qian Lai's feet, eyes still open, staring up at him in death. Qian Lai's whole body trembled violently, his facial muscles twitching uncontrollably. He glared furiously at Li Mo, who said, "Pity. You were too slow. Try to be quicker next time." With that, he strode toward Fong Bai. Qian Lai hurried to shout, "I'll pay. 25 gold coins for one person. Keep them intact." Li Mo caught the money bag thrown toward him. He had not expected the fat man to actually produce so many gold coins, and he smiled as he stowed it in his backpack. "There we go. You ought to thank me. I just saved you a fortune." Qian Lai said nothing. He walked straight over to Fong Bai on the ground. Fong Bai was still staring in horror at Fong Ming's corpse. He snapped out of his daze only when Qian Lai touched him. "Li Mo, I'll kill you. Shut up." Qian Lai clamped a hand over his mouth and held him down hard. "Do you want to get us both killed?" Li Mo scoffed, paying him no mind whatsoever. He called out to Qian Lai's retreating figure. "Hey, say thank you. Where are your manners?" Qian Lai supported Fong Bai and slowly stepped before Li Mo. His expression shifted several times before he forced an unnatural smile onto his face. "Thank you. Li Mo, Fong Ming truly offended you. He got what he deserved." Li Mo looked at Qian Lai's false smile and sneered inwardly. This man had remarkable self-control. "Haha, no worries. We're all on the same side. Unity among our buildings is how we survive." Qian Lai echoed the sentiment, yet murderous thoughts churned inside him. Yes, that is the truth. Lu Lan walked over then, still shaken by what she had witnessed. She had once again seen Li Mo's true nature. Brutal, precise, and masterful at manipulating others. It's all dealt with now. Li Mo turned to her, then glanced at Qian Lai. "Let's go, Sister Lan. Show me that mine you mentioned. Qian Lai, come along if you have nothing better to do." A cold glint flickered in Qian Lai's eyes. "Very well, I shall come." The surrounding crowd remained deathly quiet. The brutal violence they had just witnessed weighed heavily on every person's heart. The residents of Building 2, who had previously muttered complaints about Li Mo, now regarded him with nothing but bone-deep terror. Wang Buiyuan stood rooted to the spot. He looked at the headless corpse half buried in snow, then at Li Mo's retreating back, his mind in turmoil. He and Li Mo were strangers. There was no reason for Li Mo to go to such brutal lengths on his behalf and antagonize Qian Lai. Seeing the group about to leave, he hurried to catch up, his tone uncertain and confused. "Brother, thank you for what you did back there. But why did you help me?" Li Mo chuckled and glanced back over his shoulder. "Do you remember selling a batch of glass at the trading post before?" Wang Buiyuan's eyes flew wide. "You're that mysterious buyer." Li Mo nodded faintly, his tone calm. "That is part of the reason. More importantly, this world runs on the law of the jungle. If he could rob you, then I can rob him." Wang Buiyuan froze where he stood, staring at Li Mo's back. He felt a mix of shock, relief, and a strange sense of admiration. He clenched his fists and hurried to follow along. Qian Lai's face darkened as he ordered his men to carry away Fong Ming's corpse and the leg-broken Fong Bai. He stared at Li Mo's back, the flesh on his plump cheeks twitching. This score would not go unpaid. Still, he knew better than to engage in open confrontation. They were heading underground now. An opportunity to strike in secret would present itself. Li Mo set off with LV Jean and a group of residents, following behind Lu Lan. The snowstorm intensified. Snow had risen above the ankles, and the deeper they ventured into the city, the quieter everything became. Only the crunch of boots through snow echoed. Before long, they arrived at the entrance of a ruined subway station. To Li Mo, this place was a treasure house, glowing purple. People bustled about the entrance, carrying tools as they went in and out. Some removed their cotton coats, bare-chested and sweating heavily, unaffected by the bitter cold outside. Lu Lan halted and turned toward Li Mo. This is it. For some reason, it is far warmer underground, and the temperature rises the deeper you go. Li Mo studied the exposed ground near the entrance, deep in thought. Could there be some heat-generating source beneath? Just then, disorder erupted among the workers. Make way! Quick, make way! Someone's hurt. Several men dragged an injured man up out of the tunnel. He was covered in blood and convulsing nonstop. One of the men spotted Lu Lan and cried out in relief. Sister Lan. He was mining spirit crystals down there and ended up like this. He was already unconscious when we found him. Lu Lan stepped forward to examine him, but a hand pulled her back. She turned and saw Li Mo staring gravely at the wounded man. Li Mo had spotted green light points moving inside the man's body. They resembled the resource glows he could perceive with his special vision. But how could resource glows move inside a human being? Lu Lan, do you see anything strange about him? Lu Lan grew confused. Strange. Alerted by Li Mo's words, she scanned the man carefully, yet saw nothing apart from his blood-soaked injuries. I see nothing out of the ordinary. He must have been attacked by some monster. What have you noticed? Li Mo realized this luminous effect was visible only through his unique ability. He had never encountered glowing points moving around inside a living person. He stepped forward. Those nearby, having heard his warning, stepped back to create an open space. Li Mo locked onto the area where the glows shifted and tore open the wounded man's clothing. His pupils narrowed. Beneath the skin on the man's chest, a thin raised line was wriggling rapidly just under the surface. Looking at the moving glows, Li Mo wondered, could this creature hold some kind of value? There really is something. Something is moving under his skin. Good heavens, what is that? Murmurs of alarm spread through the onlookers. Lu Lan's expression turned grim. How did you notice that, Li Mo? Ignoring her question, Li Mo drew his dagger. Steel flashed. He sliced open the skin and swiftly pulled out a worm-like creature. The instant the creature was removed, the wounded man's convulsions ceased, and color slowly returned to his face. The worm was roughly 7 to 8 centimeters long, semi-transparent, with a fine sharp needle-like protrusion on its head. It twisted and wriggled in Li Mo's fingers, a revolting sight. It's a worm. Good heavens. There are creatures like this in the mine? How are we supposed to mine spirit crystals? Li Mo's companions grew hesitant. Qian Lai's eyes narrowed as a scheme took shape in his mind. Li Mo stared at the worm in his grasp. His system gave no notification. He squeezed it firmly, and bodily fluid splattered out. Experience points +1. Only 1 experience point. He studied the creature's remains, which still emitted a faint blue glow. He could not fathom what purpose it served. Could it be consumed? It had lived inside a human for a long time. Perhaps it was not poisonous. After a moment's hesitation, he reasoned that this was merely an avatar. If something went wrong, he could simply spawn another. When no one was watching, he dabbed some of its bodily fluid onto his lips. Almost immediately, his weariness faded away. Relief surged through him. As expected, something glowing blue would have some practical use. He stroked his chin as an idea formed. Ordinary people would die if infected by these parasites. For him, however, they granted experience and restored physical stamina. Others could not see the glowing markers. They would either become hosts or crush the worms and waste their potential. No one would ever guess these creatures could be utilized. Lu Lan walked over and frowned at the remains in his hand. This is a crystal leech. They have appeared before. They burrow into people's bodies to feed on blood, and no one has found a reliable way to deal with them. When sensing danger, they burrow deep into flesh. I'm impressed you managed to extract it. Li Mo shook the residue off his fingers and stored the worm's corpse in his backpack. Lu Lan sighed and ordered her men to carry the injured man to safety. We will need Bai Mengming's help to treat him. She then addressed the crowd. Do not panic. Crystal leeches are rare near the entrance. Trouble only comes if you venture recklessly deep into the tunnels. Li Mo nodded without speaking. He understood now. since spirit crystals bore green glowing markers, and these worms also carried them. The parasites fed on spirit crystals to survive. Qianlai watched the wounded man be carried away, a subtle cold smile playing across his lips. The group descended the short staircase and arrived underground at the subway platform. The original railway tracks lay rusted and deformed. In the pitch-black tunnels, many people chipped away at spirit crystals. The clink of tools echoed through the empty station hall. The miners paid no attention to the newcomers. This is the place. Lulan pointed at scattered white crystals embedded in the rock walls. So far we have only mined the section near the platform. Further down the tunnels, spirit crystal deposits should be far more abundant. At the sight of the crystals, the others grew excited, eager to begin mining. Spirit crystals are really here, someone exclaimed. Li Mo observed the crystals, seeing numerous green glowing points shifting within them. Joy welled up inside him. There were so many. Qianlai sauntered over. He had noticed bite marks along the rock surrounding a large crystal and had already formulated his plan. Li Mo, your first time down here, and you stumble upon such a fine crystal. You have remarkable luck. He pulled a brand new iron pickaxe from his backpack and held it out with a smile. Go ahead and dig it out yourself. Keep it as a souvenir. Li Mo almost laughed at Qianlai's transparent ploy. Others would have eagerly mined such a fine crystal, yet Li Mo could see exactly what lurked within. Thank you for the pickaxe. He accepted it without hesitation. Qianlai's eyes lit up, thinking his trap had worked. Li Mo grabbed one of the pseudo-humans he had brought along. He had already covered its eyes and mouth back in the underground parking lot. He swung the pickaxe hard against the edge of the crystal. Crack! The rock split open. Several crystal leeches burst forth, startling everyone. As the parasites lunged toward the nearest living beings, Li Mo shoved the bound pseudo-human forward. The hideous leeches burrowed straight into its body, wriggling beneath its skin. The pseudo-human stiffened, then thrashed violently. Tightly bound by rope, it could only produce muffled whimpers. Li Mo's eyes lit up. It worked. This was a perfect living host to raise the parasites. Raising monsters using another monster. Brilliant. Patting the pseudo-human's shoulder, Li Mo spoke cheerfully. Don't get too excited. There will be many more of your kind coming soon. The pseudo-human struggled harder, tears streaming down its face. It regretted ever stepping foot into that apartment building. Lulan knew exactly what the pseudo-human was. She was astonished by Li Mo's clever approach. Li Mo, that gives me new ideas. Qianlai's smile froze completely. He realized his trick had been seen through, and he was shocked by Li Mo's ruthlessness. In his view, Li Mo was sacrificing one of Lulan's captives as bait for the worms. Li Mo's own followers stood by with blank, unemotional expressions. Qianlai inwardly groaned. What kind of people lived in this building, more cold-blooded than himself? Unable to carry out his scheme, Qianlai forced composure. So many of those worms are down here too. Li Mo ignored him entirely. He wielded the pickaxe, targeting rock formations where he could see the green glow of crystal leeches. He used the pseudo-human to collect the parasites repeatedly. When fatigue set in, he consumed a small amount of the worm's bodily fluid, and exhaustion vanished instantly. Lulan saw how absorbed Li Mo was and did not disturb him. She gave safety instructions to her people and returned to the surface to oversee operations. Li Mo's followers lacked proper tools, yet driven by greed, they smashed at the rock with iron scraps scavenged from their backpacks. Before long, the pseudo-human in Li Mo's hands stopped moving entirely. Beneath its skin, countless glowing points marked the presence of roughly 70 to 80 leeches. Li Mo wrapped thick cloth tightly around its head, then set it carefully against the wall, careful not to damage this precious resource. Checking his backpack, he saw he had mined dozens of spirit crystals. Satisfied, he dragged out a second pseudo-human. This one thrashed even more violently than the first. Along the way, Li Mo discovered a bronze treasure chest. You have opened a bronze treasure chest. Obtained, silver coins ×1, toothbrush ×1, delicious pickled mustard ×1. Nice, an unexpected bonus. Li Mo was fully immersed in mining when his ears picked up an odd sound. He noticed that without needing torches, valuable objects shone brightly to his vision. He had wandered deep into the tunnel, and everyone else was gone. Frowning, he stopped working. A strange foul stench hung in the air like organic waste. Scratching sounds echoed through the darkness. Li Mo set down the pseudo-human. He moved silently toward the source of the noise. Turning a corner, he beheld a vast underground cavern lit by soft blue light. Glowing blue mushrooms covered the rock walls. Huge ants crawled everywhere inside. Deep within the chamber, protected by the largest soldier ants, sat an enormous white fleshy queen ant. Tiny milky, white worker ants carried ant larvae back and forth. One soldier ant raised its antennae and twitched, sensing something. Liam quickly pulled a smiling mask from his backpack and put it on. The soldier ant's antennae flickered more frantically. It turned in circles yet could not locate him. Eventually, it lowered its antennae and rejoined the colony. Liam let out a quiet breath of relief. The mask concealed his presence from the ants. A 1-meter long worker ant bit cleanly through a segment of old railway track and walked straight past him, oblivious to his existence. Staying close to the wall, he crept forward and plucked one of the glowing mushrooms at his feet. Glowing mushroom. Description: eating it allows you to see spectral apparitions. It also functions as a light source within its growth area. Liam fell silent. It was a hallucinogenic toxic mushroom. What a letdown. He stuffed it into his backpack. Past the ant swarm, partially hidden behind the queen ant's bulky body, something glowed faint purple. Unfortunately, the queen blocked it, and he could not reach it remotely with his ability. When he tried to advance further, several powerful soldier ants locked onto him. Liam halted and slowly backed away. Even if they perceive me as one of them, they will not let me get any closer. Just as Liam was thinking of a countermeasure, the ground above his head suddenly began to shake. To Liam's astonishment, a huge crack split open in the rock overhead, and a long tongue snaked its way inside. It coiled around dozens of giant ants in one sweep. Hiss! In an instant, the entire ant nest descended into chaos. Damn it! The nest goes haywire the second I get here. Liam cursed under his breath and spun around to run. He darted back to the corner, grabbed the 2 pseudo-humans off the ground, and sprinted toward the tunnel exit. The scuttling sounds of ants echoed behind him, but Liam moved faster, soon putting distance between himself and the swarm. No one expected so many monsters near Building 2. Lu Zhan, who had been mining, saw Liam bolting over and did not hesitate for a second. He called out to everyone, "Stop mining. Run." Liam's group only froze for a moment before they understood and fled alongside Lu Zhan. Some of the other survivors watching nearby curled their lips in disdain. Dusk had begun to fall. Sandwiching the 2 pseudo-humans under his arms, Liam burst out from underground, followed closely by his people. Lu Lan was giving orders to her subordinates. She stared blankly as Liam sprinted past. Li Qianlai, standing beside her, sneered contemptuously. Got chased off by underground bugs. What a useless guy. Right after he spoke, more survivors stumbled upward, yelling as they ran. It's bad. There are giant ants underground. So many. Run, Lanjie. Godfather, we need to get out of here too. Qianlai frowned, still unconvinced. They were just ants. How big could they possibly be? He glanced downward and nearly lost his wits. Hurry, carry me. Run for your lives. Give it everything you've got. Liam rushed into the underground garage and gasped for breath. Then a system prompt echoed inside his head. Today's entry has refreshed. You are Nangong Wenya. You are Nangong Wenya. If you place both hands on any creature's head and sing a children's song with genuine emotion, the creature will be pacified and obey your commands. What? Liam skidded to a halt and stared at the panel for 2 seconds. Nangong Wenya? That character who could calm any being with a touch and purify them? Shock lasted only a single second. His eyes lit up the next instant. Pacify any living creature? That meant the giant ants, and even the queen deep inside the nest. He could make them his. Liam headed for the first floor hall and locked the 2 pseudo-humans inside a separate room. The hall was noisy. Strangers from other buildings gathered around by Meng Meng to receive treatment. Liang Yun stood beside her, scanning the surroundings constantly, watching for troublemakers like a bodyguard. Spotting Liam rushing over from the garage, Liang Yun hurried toward him. Master, you're back. How is the situation underground? Liam said nothing. He stepped forward, stretched out his long arms, and pulled both women into his embrace. Ah! Bai Meng Meng let out a small cry and instinctively wrapped her arms around his neck. Liang Yun was caught off guard and crashed into his chest, her nose bumping against him. Master? What is wrong? Liang Yun whispered, her fingers tightening around his clothing. The survivors waiting for treatment stared in complete confusion. Not far away, Zhangbo squatted on the ground tallying supplies from the day's expedition. 2 untreated corpses lay beside his feet. He looked up and saw Liam carry the 2 women upstairs. He scratched his head, thoroughly confused. What on earth is going on? At that moment, Lu Zhan and his group stumbled into the garage entrance, shouting at the top of their lungs. Shut the main gate. A swarm of giant ants is coming from underground. Hurry! Zhang Bo's expression turned grave. He understood immediately. That was why Liamo had run so fast. Inside the room, Liamo set the two women down and closed the door before letting out a breath. He recalled his avatar. His real body, who had been sitting cross-legged on the bed, opened his eyes abruptly. Liang Yin looked at him anxiously. Master, what exactly happened? Instead of answering directly, Liamo walked to the window and frowned as he looked down. The giant ant nest under the ground has gone berserk. Building 2 will be hit first. I wonder if Lulan can hold out. As he finished speaking, his pupils constricted. Look! The two women hurried over to the window and drew in sharp breaths. Countless ants were already moving across the snow outside, carving paths through it. Some were climbing up the outer walls of the building. Good heavens, there are so many of them. Bai Mingming whispered, moving closer to Liamo. Their menacing mandibles snapped open and shut. Liamo watched as one ant bit through a resident's window and crawled inside. From above, the entire residential complex was swarming with ants. Bruce sensed the danger and scurried under the bed. Liamo walked to the door and peered through the observation slit. Several ants had already entered the hallway. Their antennae twitched as they sought out the scent of living humans behind each door. He wanted to summon an avatar to dispose of them, but 3 more ants climbed up the stairwell. One charged straight for Liamo's door and bit hard against it. There was a dull clang. The level 5 steel door held firm. The ant gnawed at it, failed to breach it, twitched its antennae, and contracted its abdomen. Sizz! It spat acid onto the steel door. White smoke rose, yet the door remained undamaged. The ant shifted its attention and moved toward the next apartment. Bai Mingming pressed a hand to her chest in relief. Thank goodness our door is high grade. The neighboring apartment's door was not so sturdy. It gave way quickly. A disheveled woman stumbled out and banged frantically against Liamo's door. Save me. Liamo, please open the door. She glanced over her shoulder in terror as ants advanced slowly toward her, toying with their prey. Take me in. I will obey every order you give me. Liamo listened to her pleas from inside the room, his face impassive. He was annoyed that she was blocking his view through the observation slit. Liang Yin thought the woman's hope was foolish. Liamo would never open the door for her. Ants attacked her from both sides. They tore the woman apart and dragged her body toward the stairwell, leaving a long, dark trail of blood. Liamo watched the ants retreat, his mind turning to another possibility. The whole swarm obeyed the queen. If he could pacify the queen with his newly unlocked entry, the entire ant nest would belong to him. A plan formed. He would head underground once more. But the entry's description was vague. Sing a children's song. No specified song. No set length. Only that it had to be sung with genuine emotion. He needed a test subject. Liamo summoned 2 avatars, the maximum number he could create. The 2 women in the room gaped in shock at the new avatar. I'm going out to test something. Stay here and guard my real body. They grew serious at once. Leave it to us, master. Liamo stored 1 avatar in his backpack. His other avatar put on the mask and rushed out. He needed a private spot. He could not afford for anyone to learn about this ability. As he turned into the stairwell, a giant ant blocked his path. It was feeding on the remains of the woman from earlier. Liamo kicked its side hard, flipping the creature over. The ant snapped its head up, antennae whipping wildly. It scanned its surroundings, but detected no trace of living emotion. It spun in circles, thoroughly confused. Liamo winced at the tough texture beneath his foot. These things are really hard. Before the ant could recover, he stepped forward and pressed both hands firmly against its huge head. The ant froze. It stared at Liamo's masked face with its black eyes, antennae twitching faster. Staring at its menacing mandibles, Liamo gritted his teeth and closed his eyes to gather his emotions. When he opened them again, his eyes behind the mask held genuine warmth. He began to sing. Child, why are you so bad, bully and deceive? Why do you do that? His voice echoed through the empty stairwell. The ant stood perfectly still, its black eyes fixed unblinkingly on him. It had no idea what this being with a similar aura was doing. Man and ant stared at each other. Liamo kept singing until he finished the whole song. Had it failed? Just as doubt crept into his mind, he saw the ant's black eyes slowly turn pink. The next moment, it acted like a loyal dog, rubbing its body against Liamo. It accepted him as its master. Liamo lit up. It actually worked. He climbed onto the giant ant's back without hesitation. Let's go. Time to tame the queen. Riding the giant ant felt awkward. It was rough and uncomfortable, yet its speed exceeded his expectations. Still unsatisfied with the pace, Liamo guided it down the stairs with pats to its head. Better than Bruce, that dim-witted hound. At least it follows orders. His smile faded quickly. The queen would be surrounded by elite guard ants. One song would not buy him enough time before the guards ripped him apart. Even with his mask, the royal guards would intercept him. No choice. I'll take things as they come. As Li Mo neared the first floor, Yi Qingyin stood in the stairwell enveloped by a glowing white barrier that shielded both herself and Ning Yin. Ants bit and sprayed acid against the shield. Every attack drained Yi Qingyin's strength, draining the color from her face. Ning Yin huddled behind her, trembling, tears in her voice. "Teacher, are we going to die here?" Yi Qingyin gritted her teeth. "I can hold on a little longer. When my barrier fails, run upstairs while I distract them." Ning Yin clung tightly to her clothes, yet a cold glint flashed across her eyes. "Teacher, please hold on. I don't want to die." If the barrier collapsed, she would push Yi Qingyin out to the ants. Someone had to be sacrificed so she could escape. She stared at Yi Qingyin's thin back, plotting her escape. Then her eyes widened. She tugged Yi Qingyin's arm. "Teacher, look over there." Yi Qingyin turned with great effort and froze. A man wearing a black smiling mask sat calmly atop a giant ant, looking down at them. Li Mo stared at the two women behind the barrier, surprised. He had not expected Bai Mengming's teacher to awaken such an ability. He patted the ant's head. The giant ant charged forward. Li Mo jumped down and kicked surrounding ants away. Yi Qingyin dropped the barrier at once and pulled Ning Yin into a nearby room. "Thank you, masked man." Li Mo shook his head as the door shut. The ants picked themselves up again, searching for prey, the scent of blood filling the air. He climbed back onto his ant mount and rushed into the underground garage. Ants roamed throughout the garage. His mount carried him swiftly through the horde without drawing attack, soon carrying him out of Building 1. Building 2 was far worse. Its entrance gaped open, the lobby wrecked, strewn with corpses and blood. Screams echoed from within, alongside dead ants. These would all be my soldiers. Such a waste to lose them. He frowned. I hope Lulan didn't die in there. Without delay, he rushed out through the entrance, braving the snowstorm toward the subway station. At the underground entrance, the ants were no longer in a frenzy. He stepped inside and returned to the vast cavern he had visited before. The ceiling had been torn wide open, snow drifting down from above. The queen's former resting spot was empty. The purple glow was gone. "Are you kidding me?" That long-tongued monster took her away. As Li Mo cursed, he noticed ants marching steadily deeper into the tunnels, many carrying clumps of soil in their jaws. Li Mo's eyes lit up. He patted his mount and followed the ant column. After traveling through tunnels for more than 10 minutes, an even larger cavern unfolded before him. Blue mushrooms lined the walls, and countless ants labored at excavation. They dug out this huge space in so little time. His desire to claim the queen grew stronger. He scanned the cavern and spotted the enormous pale, white figure of the queen. She sat surrounded by smaller ants, her body noticeably shrunken. Worker ants crawled into her mouth, feeding her to sustain her power. Li Mo also noticed something odd. Some ants bore body parts taken from other creatures. Could the queen absorb genes from other beings to birth modified ants? Li Mo's heart raced. If he controlled this power, he could breed whatever soldier units he wanted. He urged his ant mount forward. 50 meters from the queen, the mount halted. No amount of urging could make it advance further. Instinct held it back. Li Mo jumped off its back and approached the queen on foot. The royal guard ants surrounding her locked onto him all at once, vibrating their wings to sound a warning. Ignoring them, Li Mo quickened his pace. Hiss! A guard ant charged, jaws spread to tear him apart. "How dare you attack your future master?" Li Mo drew his repaired machete and struck. Clang! Metal clashed against chitin, leaving not a single mark. More guards took flight and rushed toward him. Li Mo pulled out his pistol. Bang! 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 Shots rang out. Bullets pierced their tough exoskeletons this time. Wounded guards crashed to the ground, twitching but not dead. Li Mo's priority was to subdue the queen. He sprinted forward through the chaos. The gunfire alerted the entire colony. The queen let out a strange, high-pitched call. The whole swarm turned and charged toward him. Li Mo summoned his second avatar from his backpack. The avatar brandished a machete and ran off in the opposite direction, drawing most of the ant horde away. Seizing the opening, Li Mo sprinted straight to the queen. Up close, the mountain-sized white mass was grotesque. Li Mo grimaced. Which end is even her head? Tom was short. He picked one writhing feeding orifice and pressed both hands against it. Once more he filled his gaze with gentle warmth and began to sing. Child, why are you so bad, bully and deceive? Why do you do that?" Mid-song, Li Mo sensed danger. His decoy avatar had been torn apart. Ants were turning back toward him. He hurried through the lyrics, praying haste would not invalidate the effect. The swarm closed in and swarmed over him. Mandibles tore at his body. His health dropped rapidly. 100, 90, 80, 70. He had to keep smiling and singing even as ants attacked him. He felt utterly ridiculous. 30, 20, 10, 5. With only 5 health points remaining, he finished the final line. In that instant, every ant fell silent. Even those inside the residential complex froze. Ants climbed off his body. The queen, once hostile, rubbed against his legs like a docile pet. Ha ha ha, it worked. From this moment onward, this nest and tens of thousands of giant ants belonged to him. He could go anywhere beneath the ground. His avatar's body could take no more. Everything went black, and he collapsed. Back in the room, Lemo's real body opened his eyes, blazing with excitement. 30th floor, building 2. The hallway reeked of blood and ant acid, stinging throats. Lulan leaned against a wooden door, her fire axe worn and blunted from battle. Ant acid had burned through her cotton coat on one shoulder. Beneath it, her skin blistered and raw. Every movement sent waves of agony through her. Most residents here had low-grade doors, so they had fled to the 30th floor. Longia, we can't hold them off. One of her men swung an iron bar and knocked an ant aside, but its mandibles sliced open his arm. Blood soaked his sleeve. Lulan tried to push herself upright, but exhaustion washed over her. She stared at the black tide of ants pouring up the stairwell. Despair settled over her for the first time. Was she going to die here today? At the height of her hopelessness, every single ant froze. The scuttling noises vanished completely. Lulan stared at the impossible scene, chest heaving, unable to process what she was seeing. She had been certain death awaited them, yet hope had arrived out of nowhere. Longia, they stopped moving? Her subordinate still held his iron bar ready to strike, his voice trembling. Lulan gasped for breath and slowly stood upright against the wall, her eyes wide with disbelief. Elsewhere, Liamo had barely savored his victory when a sharp pain shot through his brain. Damn it, I've worn the mask for too long. Voices echoed inside his head. The smiling mask's mental erosion was far more severe than he had anticipated. Though the power wielded by his avatar was weakened, he had remained inside the ant nest for nearly half an hour. That was far beyond the 10-minute safety threshold. Countless faint, icy whispers swirled inside his mind at this moment. Master, brotherly, Liang Yun and Bai Mengmeng rushed over at once. Staring at the scarlet, chaotic emotions surging in his eyes, they were filled with worry. Reaching out to support him, yet hesitating to touch him. Liamo could no longer suppress the torment raging within him and leaned forward abruptly. Bai Mengmeng was the first within reach. She was startled by his sudden movement, but seeing the agony etched on his face, she stayed still without resistance. Liang Yun watched on in shock. She had never seen Liamo in such a state. Before she could process what was happening, a warm hand pulled her over as well. In the corridor, less than 30 seconds after the ant swarm halted, Chen Yao pushed open a crack in her door. She cautiously scanned her surroundings, confirmed there were no immediate threats, then slipped outside with nimble movements. Corpses lay scattered across the ground. She bent down and quickly rummaged through them, stuffing food and silver coins into her backpack. When she passed Limo's door, her footsteps paused. She stared for a long time at the intact grade 5 steel door. She had faintly glimpsed a masked figure heading toward the underground levels from the stairwell earlier. This incident was undoubtedly connected to Liamo. She suppressed the suspicion flickering in her eyes. Carrying her bulging backpack, she silently retreated into her room. The door closed softly without making a sound. Building 4, 7th floor. The stench of blood still lingered in the corridor. Zhong Weigui shook the dark green ant blood off his blade, his military boot pressing down on an ant's skull. A large number of ant corpses already lay before him. Xiaohan, have you figured out what's going on? Where did all these ants suddenly come from? The young man, named Han Ting, wiped blood from his face and stepped forward. Captain Zhong, we have answers. Lu Lan from Building 2 excavated an underground mine tunnel, disturbing the giant ant nest and triggering this disaster. He paused, then added another piece of information. There is also something strange. Witnesses saw a man wearing a black smiling mask riding a giant ant charge into the subway station. Shortly afterward, every single ant stopped moving. I suspect he is the reason the ant crisis subsided. I knew that woman would stir up trouble. What do we know about this masked man? Han Ting shook his head. No one has seen his true face, but his route led away from Building 1. Zhong Weigui fell silent for a moment and slowly nodded. Whoever he is, he saved countless lives at the very least. His tone shifted sharply. How is the training progressing for the residents? Everyone is following your orders. The able-bodied team has taken shape, and ordinary survivors can now handle basic weapons. Relief finally crossed Zhong Weigu's face upon hearing this. Good. Captain Zhong. Han Ting spoke again. The snow is falling harder and harder. It is nearly burying the building entrance. If we didn't take shifts clearing it, we wouldn't even be able to open the door. Zhong Weiguo walked to the window and gazed out at the heavy snowflakes pouring from the sky. His brows tightened. The snow will not stop anytime soon. While the ant swarm remains inactive, seize every moment to stockpile supplies. Gather as much as we can. Just then, a private message arrived from Qianlai. Zhong Weiguo stared at the message, lost in thought. After some time, the wind and snow outside intensified, beating against the window panes. Inside the room, Liamo lay on the bed. He stared blankly at the ceiling. The icy whispers in his mind had finally faded completely, leaving only a profound sense of calm. The air conditioner mounted above the window continued to blow warm air into the room. Liang Yun propped herself up, strands of hair brushing lightly against Liamo's nose. Master, are you feeling better now? Liamo returned to his senses, glanced sideways at her, then looked toward Bai Meng, who sat quietly off to the side. A faint smile tugged at his heart. This girl usually seemed gentle, yet the earlier ordeal had nearly drained all his energy. Fortunately, his physique was extraordinary. Anyone else would not have endured it. Much better. He reached out and stroked Liang Yun's hair. He had lost 2 avatars in this ordeal, but successfully seized control of the entire ant nest. The gains far outweighed the losses. The thought had barely crossed his mind when he suddenly stiffened and sat upright. That's not right. I forgot to retrieve the purple treasure chest deep within the ant nest. He contemplated for 2 seconds before lying back down. No matter. Hidden deep inside the ant territory, no one but him could reach it. It would not disappear. He could retrieve it tomorrow. At that moment, Bai Meng gently tugged at his arm and whispered, Brotherly, look outside. The snow seems even heavier. Liamo pulled on a coat and walked over to the window. Enormous snowflakes blanketed everything in sight. Visibility had plummeted, and the city beyond was nothing more than blurry silhouettes. Snow piled high enough to bury half the building entrance, rising visibly by the second. Liamo watched the scene outside, his brows furrowing involuntarily. If the snow keeps falling like this, venturing outside will only grow more difficult. Liang Yun also put on outerwear and walked over, her expression relaxed. We have you, master. We do not need to worry about supplies. It is not that simple. Liamo shook his head, his gaze turning heavy. When the snow was light, people could still venture out to scavenge supplies and scrape by. Once the snow blocks all paths, living space will shrink further. Survivors from the other buildings will not last long. His tone turned cold. After all, confronting monsters is dangerous. Turning on other humans feels far safer to desperate people. Liang Yun and Bai Meng exchanged a look. The smiles faded from their faces, replaced by solemnity. Both understood what horrors desperate people would commit once resources ran dry. Knock, knock, knock. A knock echoed at the door right then. Liamo shot the 2 women a look, signaling them to tidy their appearance. He peered through the observation hole and saw Lu Zhan before opening the door and stepping outside. Liamo looked at the man, who was covered in dirt and wounds, a hint of confusion on his face. When Lu Zhan saw the door open, joy immediately spread across his features. Masterly, could you ask Miss Bai Meng to come and treat the others? So many were injured this time. Several are barely hanging on. As he spoke, he held out several silver coins. Truth be told, Liamo cared little for such a small amount of money now. Still, he viewed all residents of this building as his assets. They might prove useful labor in the future, and too many casualties would be disadvantageous. He accepted the silver coins and turned toward the room. Meng, come. It is time to work. Coming. Bai Meng responded at once and stepped out of the room, moving with slight stiffness from exhaustion. The group headed to the first floor. The sight in the lobby was harrowing. Injured survivors lay scattered across the ground. Some had lost limbs entirely. Tiny ice crystals were already forming on their wounds due to the frigid temperatures. In this end times, injuries this severe were almost always a death sentence. Wails of suffering echoed nonstop. The crowd automatically parted to make way when Li Mo appeared, no one daring to speak out of turn. Bai Meng hurried forward, knelt down, and began treating the wounded one by one. Liamo stood to the side. He could clearly feel the temperature inside the lobby dropping further, likely close to minus 30 degrees Celsius. He also noticed far fewer corpses remained than before. It was not yet time for the building's corpse reset mechanism to activate. There was only one explanation for their disappearance. His brows creased as he swept his gaze across the crowd, his eyes deep and unreadable. Lu Zhan and Zhang Bo stood near the main entrance, staring at the ever-thickening snow outside. Both wore grave expressions. The snow was already knee-deep. If it continued, they would be trapped inside with no way to gather supplies, doomed to starve. They exchanged a glance, each seeing anxiety in the other's eyes, then hurried over to Liam. Masterly, the snow just keeps getting worse. What should we do? We will follow whatever you decide. That's right, Masterly. Should we organize people to clear the snow by the door? If it piles higher, we won't be able to open the entrance at all. Liam inwardly sighed. Even without the snowstorm, they had no choice but to rely on him. He spoke calmly. Do nothing for now. Wait. Wait. The two men stared in confusion, their expressions growing heavier. Exactly, wait. As you can see, the snow is intensifying. Once it fully buries the entrance, we will dig tunnels outward from inside the building. This way, we avoid traveling through the blizzard, and the tunnels will also help retain heat. Those nearby listening perked up instantly at his words. Thick snow formed a natural barrier. It blocked bitter winds and hid them from monsters roaming above ground. Searching for supplies through tunnels would be far safer than wandering the snow-covered streets. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, and hopeful looks appeared on many faces. Liam did not let their optimism last long, bringing them back to reality. Do not get ahead of yourselves. Use whatever spare time you have to reinforce your windows. We were safe high up where monsters could not climb before, but the snow keeps rising, and ants can scale walls. The next wave of threats could easily break in through the windows. The crowd's hopeful mood crashed instantly, and fear spread across their faces. Several hours later, snow had completely covered the building's main entrance. Seeing this, Lujan rose and began assigning tasks to all able survivors to start digging. Liam walked to one side and unlocked the room holding the two fake humans infested with crystal leeches. The two fake humans lay rigidly on the floor. Bulges wriggled beneath their skin as countless crystal leeches moved within them, creating an eerie sight. Liam knelt down and carefully extracted one crystal leech. A new idea occurred to him. Now that he controlled the entire ant nest, he had access to endless resources. He could dilute the fluid from these leeches to craft stamina recovery potions for sale. Liam ran a quick test. One crystal leech's essence could be diluted to fill 5 mineral water bottles. A stamina restoring potion like this would be endlessly sought after on the trading market. Stamina fueled every skill, ensuring constant demand. He might even gather enough resources to construct arrow towers with the profits. He wasted no time mixing more than a dozen bottles and storing the liquid inside empty water bottles. When setting a price, he hesitated briefly before settling on 1 silver coin for 2 bottles. He feared an overly high price would scare away buyers. Magical recovery water, 2 bottles for 1 silver coin. After listing the stock on the trading platform, he carried several bottles into the lobby. Everyone quiet. At Liam's voice, noise in the hall died immediately. Anyone running low on stamina can purchase recovery potions. 30 copper coins per bottle, half the price offered on the trading market. 30 copper coins? Is that true? I saw a stamina potion listed on the market for 50 copper coins just now. Can Masterly be trusted to sell it this cheap? Several men who had been digging the snow tunnels stood nearby, utterly exhausted. Upon hearing Liam's offer, one gritted his teeth, pulled out copper coins, and pushed forward. Masterly, give me 1 bottle. Liam tossed him a bottle. The man twisted off the cap and gulped down the liquid. His drained complexion visibly recovered, and strength returned to his arms. It really works, he exclaimed in surprise. Give me another. I'll bring 1 for my partner. Once the first customer confirmed its effectiveness, the rest of the crowd surged forward. People crowded around nonstop. Lu Zhan and Zhang Bo each bought several bottles to keep on hand. Ning Yin stood within the crowd. She repeatedly fixed her hair and adjusted her clothes, wiping grime off her face. She believed she possessed delicate features, no less attractive than Liang Yun or Bai Mengmeng. When Liam had a moment free from customers, she bit her lip, clutched the bottle she had bought, and walked toward him with a delicate, vulnerable posture. Brotherly, thank you for the potion. Her voice was soft. She lifted her head and stared at him timidly. We would not have survived today without you. Is there anything I can do to help? I am willing to take on any task. She waited anxiously for his reply, clinging to a flicker of hope. If she could keep talking to him, she might slowly win his notice. Liam only glanced at her indifferently, his gaze lingering for barely a second. No need. Step aside, you are blocking the way. He walked straight toward Bai Mengmeng and leaned down to speak a few words to her. He never looked at Ning Yin again. Ning Yin froze in place, the smile nearly slipping from her face. She squeezed the water bottle tightly, her nails digging into her palms. Why? She could accept Liang Yun, but Bai Mengmeng seemed simple-minded. What made her worthy of staying by his side? What did she lack? Yi Qingyin watched from a distance, sighed softly, stepped over, and tugged her arm, speaking quietly. Do not dwell on this. Let us head back first. Rat, a tat tat. Intense gunfire suddenly erupted from the direction of Building 2. The sound indicated heavy machine guns. 2 seconds later, a thunderous explosion shook the window panes. Limo's expression turned sharp at once. Building 2. Lu Lan had never imagined Zhong Weigua, Qian Lai and Tai who would form an alliance against her. They had somehow obtained machine guns and grenades. It was clear they intended to use the ant disaster as an excuse to attack and seize her territory. Tai whose mocking shout rose from downstairs. He was propped up in a chair, his legs twisted awkwardly. Lu Lan, your reckless mining disturbed the ant nest and got dozens of people killed. Surrender now, and I might make your punishment less painful. Qian Lai turned to look at Zhong Weigua, a complicated expression on his face. I never guessed you were the one hiding the greatest secrets, old Zhong. Your talent lets you forge these weapons without blueprints. Zhong Weigua's expression remained calm. Humph. I could not have built them without the materials you supplied. We agreed I get half of all survivors here. Qian Lai smiled, a glint in his eyes. Deal. Lu Lan clenched her jaw, her mind racing to find a solution. She could not hold out against the assault. There was only one path to survival. Seek refuge with Liamo. She took a deep breath and whispered to her few remaining loyal subordinates. Prepare to break through. Head to Building 1 and find Liamo. Liamo stared down at Lu Lan, who sat on the ground before him. She was in a terrible state, covered in wounds, with a bullet hole in her thigh. The bullet hole continued to bleed down her trousers. Even battered and injured, her striking features remained evident. Behind her stood more than a dozen followers in even worse condition. None escaped harm. Their clothing was soaked with blood, and they could barely stand. A young woman huddled at the back of the group, her face ashen, clutching a bulging bag tightly to her chest. Liang Yun stood beside Liamo, crossbow aimed steadily at Lu Lan's forehead. Master. Lu Lan coughed, flecks of blood appearing on her lips. Zhong Weigua, Qian Lai, and Tai who joined forces. They somehow acquired machine guns and explosives. She lifted her eyes toward Liamo, urgency in her voice. Liamo, you must help me. Liamo let out a low laugh. He stepped forward, looking down at her. Why should I help you? You have led your pursuers straight to Building 1. I have yet to settle that score with you. Lu Lan staggered to her feet, sweat breaking out on her forehead instantly. Bai Mengmeng instinctively stepped forward to treat her injuries, but Liamo caught her wrist and gently pulled her back, stopping her. Do you need me to explain the principle of shared danger? Lu Lan continued. Once the 3 factions seize Building 2, they will gain far more supplies and manpower. Your Building 1 will be their next target. Liamo knew they would turn on him eventually. Still, he disliked how she attempted to use him. She was calculating perfectly, turning to him only when cornered, using Building 1 as a shield and forcing him into conflict. Meanwhile, inside the underground parking garage, Qian Lai glanced sideways at Zhong Weigua, wearing a polite smile while seething inwardly. The old fox kept all machine guns under his own men's control, refusing to share any. He would never have crafted these weapons without materials provided by Qian Lai. Qian Lai turned toward the sealed entrance, resentment fueling his arrogant tone. Hey, Liamo, know your place. Hand Lu Lan over, and we can pretend none of this ever happened, now that our 3 groups stand united. Next came Zhong Weigua's steady voice. Liamo, Lu Lan unleashed the ant disaster that killed dozens of residents. She must answer for her crimes. You have no reason to oppose the entire community for an outsider. A strange flicker of awkwardness crossed Liamo's mind. He was the one who had indirectly drawn the ants, yet he felt no guilt whatsoever. It was convenient that someone else took the blame. Lu Lan's expression darkened. Do not listen to them. They are bluffing. Their explosives and machine guns cannot break through the underground garage gate. I was caught off guard by their sudden attack, which let them advance into my territory. Liamo nearly laughed. Not at her words, but at the naivety of the men outside. Did they truly believe he could only hide behind closed doors? He controlled the entire ant nest and could command the ant queen. He focused his mind and sent a command directly to the ant queen. Deep within the underground nest, the ant queen continued spawning new ants when she received the order. A low hum emanated from her, and swarms of ants began marching outward once more. Lu Lan's expression shifted repeatedly. She appeared to reach a crucial decision. She abruptly pulled an item out of her backpack and held it out to Liamo. This is my most precious possession. We lost several team members trying to obtain it. Liamo froze and took the object. Heart of defense. Description: special material used for construction. Limo's heart skipped a beat. This was one of the core materials required to build arrow towers. He looked up in surprise at Lulan. How had this woman managed to get hold of such a rare material? Her luck was incredible. With a twist of his wrist, he stowed it directly into his backpack. A flicker of joy crossed Lulan's eyes at the sight. However, Limo's words quickly dashed her hopes. It's not enough. These supplies aren't enough to sway me, not enough to make me take you in. Limo leaned against the wall, his tone calm. This haul isn't worth the risk of angering the three factions to shelter you. One of Lulan's followers grew furious upon hearing this. Lanjia, we might as well fight our way back. Why put up with such humiliation? Limo raised an eyebrow, watching the man who spoke with an amused glint in his eyes. Before he could finish, Lulan slapped him hard across the face. Shut up. Outside the garage gate, Qianlai had long since run out of patience waiting for any movement inside. He thought back to his old grudge. His men, the Fong brothers, had died, and he'd been extorted out of 25 gold coins. Anger bubbled up inside him, and he shouted loudly, Limo, don't be ungrateful. Do you really think hiding behind this door will keep you safe? Once my men blow this gate open, everything you have will belong to me. Taihu beside him also burned with hatred for Limo. That single blow had robbed him of his ability to father children, and every waking moment he dreamed of killing Limo. Before he could speak further, shrill screams erupted from behind them. Swarms of enormous black ants scuttled forward, their sharp mandibles clicking with an unsettling grind. What the hell are these? Ants. Those giant ants have come back. Chaos erupted among the crowd. They had barely survived an ant attack once before, and terror lingered fresh in their minds. Even armed, none of them could summon the will to fight. Amid the disorder, only Zone.With men maintained their formation and did not flee, though they were taut with tension. Qianlai despaired as he watched the scene unfold. He had planned to strike, while Lulan's forces were weakened after their defeat, allying with the other two groups to seize her territory. He never imagined the giant ants would return. Fong Bai stepped in front of Qianlai, his expression grave. Don't worry, Godfather. We have guns. We can fight these creatures. Qianlai smacked him on the head. Are you an idiot? We can't kill them all. Run. Zone.With was shielded at the center of his formation, fighting while retreating. He stared at the advancing ants. Their carapaces were astonishingly tough. It took multiple shots to take down a single one. Though they could slay the ants, their rate of fire was far too slow to hold back the swarm. The three factions fought and fell back, soon pulling out of the garage area. Shouts and gunfire gradually faded into the distance. Then a deafening explosion rang out. The Ant Queen sent a mental signal to Li Mo that countless ants had perished in the blast. Li Mo immediately ordered the Ant Queen to recall the entire swarm back to the nest. He had no intention of handing free experience points to his enemies. You got lucky this time. Li Mo had tested it earlier. Killing the ants himself granted him no experience. That dream was shattered. He had hoped to use the ant swarm to power level all the way to level 99. Clearly, that plan was impossible now. Still, the three rival factions had suffered heavy losses in this encounter. For a long while to come, they would lack the strength to threaten the first building. Once silence settled completely, Li Mo turned to Lulan and smiled. Now we can talk properly. I'm sure you don't want your people caught up in more danger. Lulan stood frozen where she was. When the ants appeared, she had thought all hope was lost. Yet she could not comprehend why the ants had completely ignored her group inside the garage, as if the space was a restricted zone they dared not enter. She asked warily, You can control these ants? Li Mo shot her a sideways glance and said nothing, only smiled. Instead of wondering about that, think carefully about what you can offer to convince me to grant you shelter. Lulan bit her lower lip and met Li Mo's gaze. Her cheeks flushed. If she possessed anything valuable to him, it was herself. She knew she was attractive and had never lacked suitors. She had little interest in romantic relationships, but now that she was reliant on another's mercy, she could not afford to act recklessly. She had always been a pragmatic woman. I can offer. Li Mo cut her off before she could finish her awkward proposal. He could guess exactly what she intended to say. He appreciated beautiful women, but her type simply did not appeal to him. Hand over all the supplies you carry. Your followers will do the same. Huh? Only supplies? Lulan stared in shock, utterly unprepared for this demand. She stood there dumbfounded. One man in her group released a quiet breath of relief. Lulan recovered after a moment, her expression steady as she pulled the remaining supplies from her backpack. Seeing her followers remaining motionless, she shot them a sharp look. The group still wore expressions of resentment. They had all assumed Lulan would sacrifice herself to save them. Her gaze jolted them back to reality, and they hurriedly emptied their backpacks. Liam O collected all the supplies into his backpack and nodded. Find yourselves empty rooms. Once you move in, survive or perish by your own efforts. It has nothing to do with me. He shot by Meng Meng a glance, signaling her to tend to the wounded, then turned and left without another word. Lu Lan watched Li Mo's retreating figure, her emotions tangled. She recalled the meeting underground, when she had been the respected leader of the second building. Now she was like a stray dog, forced to submit on another's territory. She sighed softly. When she looked up, she saw Bai Meng Meng walking toward her. The young girl's gentle demeanor lightened some of her distress. While receiving treatment, Lu Lan made subtle attempts to brush against Bai Mengmeng's body. Bai Mengmeng paid no heed, assuming Lu Lan was unsteady from her injuries, and reached out to steady her. Liang Yun observed every movement clearly. She lowered her crossbow, folded her arms, and wore a knowing expression. She walked over to Li Mo. Li Mo stood at the entrance of the snow tunnel, observing the work. The tunnel stretched far outward. Mounds of excavated snow piled up in the hall, melting to fill bottle after bottle. Liu Zhan and Zhang Bo oversaw the laborers. It's working out well. We can produce stamina recovery potions from melted snow, and we don't need our own people to dig the escape route. These free laborers are incredibly useful. As he pondered, Liang Yun approached silently. Liamo noticed her cryptic smile and raised an eyebrow. She leaned close to his ear and lowered her voice. Master, I think there is something odd about Lu Lan. Does she plan to stab me in the back? Not that. I've noticed her attitude toward Meng Meng is unusual. She seems drawn to Meng Meng. I spotted it earlier. Liamo looked toward Lu Lan. Sure enough, her gaze lingered fixedly on by Meng Meng, uncomfortably intense. Damn, could this woman prefer women? Liang Yun linked her arm through Li Mo's and smiled. Master, why not take her into your fold as well? Liamo did not respond. He looked at Lu Lan's ragged group and sank into thought. He was still far too weak. He had seen immensely powerful monsters and uncanny anomalies roaming the city. If he failed to grow stronger quickly, he could end up just like Lu Lan, fleeing for his life and at the mercy of others. A stronger sense of urgency settled over Liamo. Meanwhile, in the hall of the second building, the three factions gathered. The original residents of the second building stood bound nearby. Qianlai glanced at his dwindling band of followers, anger flaring. If the ant swarm had not retreated unexpectedly, he would be left with no men at all. Zhong you command plenty of men and firearms. Why didn't you cover us back there? Don't forget how you got all that weaponry. Zhong stared silently at Qianlai, yet tension thickened in the air. Zhong men slowly raised their gun barrels. Then Taihu's high-pitched voice cut through the standoff. We are allied now. This is no time to quarrel. Qianlai and Zhong turned together to see Taihu seated on a chair, carried over by others. Qianlai's mouth twitched, barely holding back laughter. Taihu appeared far calmer than before. Perhaps the loss of his vitality, or narrowly escaping death, had changed his outlook. He looked up at the two men and continued. We have weapons and manpower. There is no need to clash head-on with Liamo right now. We simply need to grow stronger gradually. Sooner or later, we will conquer him. Qianlai frowned at his composed demeanor. Taihu, you've grown cowardly. Where has all your arrogance gone? Taihu ignored him and stared at the ant corpses scattered around. After 2 monster attacks, he believed humanity had to unite if they hoped to survive. Qianlai scoffed at his world-weary attitude. In his eyes, Taihu only sought safety in numbers because he had lost his strength. He snorted inwardly, no longer viewing Taihu as an equal rival. Darkness fell. Liamo returned to his room after a tiring day. He planned to take fine food out of his storage box to reward himself. Just then, Lu Lan's voice came from outside the door. Liamo, I need to speak with you. Liamo wondered what she wanted so late at night. Liang Yun covered her mouth and giggled, her eyes sparkling as if she had already guessed her purpose. He opened the door. Lu Lan stood outside wearing clean clothes. She felt the warmth inside and made to step forward. Seeing how presumptuous she was, Liamo raised an arm across the doorframe to block her path. He looked down at her. Her eyes darted about, avoiding his stare. Speak your piece right here. Lu Lan hesitated for several seconds, then lifted her chin. Refused entry, she did not step back. She met Li Mo's amused gaze with a trace of pride. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not here to moor myself in your room. Qianlai suffered a terrible defeat today. He will not let the matter rest. He commands several skilled fighters who specialize in night raids. Your building holds many people, yet your defenses are lax. Can you stop them if they sneak in? She glanced into Li Mo's room, then returned her gaze to him and spoke firmly. I have dealt with Qianlai and Zhong longer than anyone. I can predict every dirty trick they play. I will stand guard here tonight and alert you to any movement. Make no mistake, I'm doing this for myself. She turned her head away, her tone stiff, yet the tips of her ears turned pink. If something happens to you and chaos erupts in the first building, my people and I will lose our shelter. I'm securing my own future. Don't misinterpret my intentions. Besides, I hold a great deal of valuable intelligence. Keeping me alive benefits you. Liamo studied her for 2 seconds. He did not believe her polished excuses. The mention of intelligence caught his interest, yet he disliked her haughty attitude. Leaning against the doorframe, he spoke slowly. If you need something, act like someone asking for a favor. You may come inside, but you have to ask me. Lulan bit her lower lip hard. Everyone had always catered to her. She had never bowed to beg another person. I refuse. Very well. Liamo shrugged and moved to close the door. Lulan's expression shifted. She quickly jammed her palm against the door to hold it open. She wanted to storm off, but she thought of the room she had been assigned. Cold, dark, and poorly protected. She had no desire to die pointlessly after surviving so much. She was Lulan. She intended to establish a firm foothold in this apocalyptic world. After a long internal struggle, she forced words out in a quiet whisper. I beg you, Liamo. Liamo looked down at her with amusement. Seeing the proud, domineering woman submit stirred a strange feeling within him. What was that? I couldn't hear you. Lulan gritted her teeth. I beg you, Liamo. Let me enter. Liamo let out a low laugh. Pride and dignity meant nothing in the end times. Power and resources ruled everything. He stepped aside to let her in. He had no fear of Lulan plotting against him. If she made any hostile move, he could defeat her with a single blow. Once inside, she spotted Bai Meng sitting on the sofa. She hurried over and pulled the young girl into a tight embrace. Don't be afraid, Meng. I'll protect you tonight. She pressed her cheek against Bai Meng's soft face, looking content. Bai Meng blinked in surprise. Sister Lulan, your wounds haven't fully healed yet. It's fine. It doesn't hurt. Lulan refused to let go, settling comfortably on the sofa. Liamo shut the door and watched the scene, unable to stop himself from sighing. All her excuses had been a distraction. She had come for Bai Meng. Liang Yun was secretly delighted. If Lulan's attention remained fixed on Bai Meng, no one would compete with her for Limao's attention. A smile tugged at her lips. Bruce squatted in the corner, crossing his eyes as he stared at Lulan, his tongue lolling out. Watching Lulan's unguarded posture, Liamo summoned a thought. A coexistence contract materialized before her eyes. Lulan barely glanced at it, and confirmed immediately before resting her head against Bai Meng again. Liamo was taken aback. She was either reckless or extraordinarily bold, signing a contract without reading its terms. He turned away from the pair and began tallying his gains. He was still far short of the materials required to construct an arrow tower. Between himself and Liang Yun, they possessed only 30 gold coins. With the coins surrendered by Lulan's group, he had barely 40. It was nowhere near enough. Most other construction materials had been gathered, yet one question lingered. Where could he place the arrow tower once it was built? He could hardly erect it inside his room. His consciousness sank deep underground, connecting with the Ant Queen. Though many ants had perished in the explosion, the Ant Queen reproduced at an astonishing rate, quickly replenishing her numbers. Mental signals from the Queen revealed the nest had expanded further. Liamo had long noticed the Ant Queen could evolve by absorbing the genes of other creatures, spawning ants with unique abilities. An idea formed. If the Ant Queen could evolve further, perhaps she could nurture ant strains with extraordinary vitality and special powers. If he commanded an army of uniquely evolved ants, no force would pose a threat to him. The thought excited him. He resolved to visit the ant nest the next day and retrieve the purple reward he had earned earlier. Liamo was mapping out his plans when the Ant Queen's signal suddenly turned frantic and chaotic. Liamo frowned. Something had disturbed the nest. Master, look out the window. He lifted his head. The silvery moonlight outside was slowly shifting color. He walked to the window and stared at the sky. His pupils constricted the instant he saw it. The silver moon was gradually turning crimson red. Roars echoed from the ruined city. The Ant Queen's mind raged in Liamo's consciousness, yet his talent's calming effect still held. The phenomenon continued. Red spread to cover the entire moon, bathing the world in crimson light. The next moment, a black fissure split open at the moon's center. An eye. A vertical, pupiled giant eye had grown upon the moon. Damn it! The eye seemed sentient, slowly rotating to survey the land below. Liamo only met its gaze for a second, yet he suffered mental corruption dozens of times stronger than when he had worn the smiling mask. A persistent buzzing filled his mind, endless faint whispers worming into his thoughts. He lowered his head at once, yet the eerie murmurs would not fade. "Don't look outside, any of you." At nearly the same moment, a cold system notification echoed in everyone's ears. "Special event activated. They are watching you." On the outskirts of the city, countless grotesque monsters advanced slowly toward the residential complex. Beneath the giant eye's gaze, they lost all rational thought, consumed by a violent urge to destroy. Soon, Liemo spotted dark figures approaching in the distance. Chillingly, they only had half a body and carried umbrellas. More accurately, their upper torsos had mutated to form the shape of an umbrella. They moved forward in strange, swaying strides toward the complex. "It's them." Liemo turned toward Lulan, surprised. "You recognize these creatures?" Lulan swallowed hard, her face pale and voice tight. "Do you remember the heart of defense I gave you? We killed one of these creatures to obtain it. They are extremely dangerous and capable of teleportation. We lost several team members fighting them. They usually stay confined to their territory. This is the first time I've seen them venture out." After hearing this, Liemo's wariness melted into excitement. If they dropped a heart of defense, they were high-value targets. Interest sparked within him. His clone would finish refreshing in a few minutes. Liemo grinned. "Come then. Let me see what you're capable of." Daily trait has been refreshed. Golden index finger. Golden index finger. Description: your right index finger transforms into the legendary golden finger. At your will, any living being touched by this finger will be struck by a state of momentary daze. The duration depends on the target's strength. The moment he read the trait description, Liemo thought it absurd, but his eyes lit up the next second. This is essentially a binding skill, guaranteed to trigger a top-tier ability. He raised his hand instinctively to stroke his chin, then froze mid-motion. Quickly he stretched his right index finger far away from himself. "Careless. Almost triggered it on myself." He glanced at the three tense women in the room. He needed a test subject to try out this new power. He turned toward Lulan, who was still watching the umbrella creatures outside the window, unaware of what waited behind her. Liemo extended his index finger and tapped her shoulder lightly. Lulan felt the touch and turned around, looking at Liemo in confusion. "What's wrong?" Before she could finish speaking, the next second arrived. Her eyes suddenly widened as an unprecedented strange sensation washed over her entire body. It was an experience unlike anything she had ever known. A wave of numbing, tingling feelings surged non-stop from deep within her. Moments later, her eyes rolled back and her body tensed up. Lulan collapsed straight onto the sofa. Liang Yun and Bai Mengmeng stared in shock. They were no longer naive young girls and immediately understood what was happening to Lulan. They turned to look at Liemo, a flicker of alarm in their eyes. Liemo checked the time and a smile tugged at his lips. "Perfect. This crowd control ability paired with another skill is an unbeatable combination." Just imagining the scene made him smirk. A full minute passed before Lulan slowly regained her senses, staring blankly at Liemo. This was the first time she had felt such a sensation in over a decade, and her mind was still foggy. Ignoring her dazed state, Liemo glanced out the window. He caught sight of a figure holding an umbrella flicker faintly before vanishing into the apartment building. His eyes narrowed, and he summoned his avatar. He opened the door and stepped outside. Inside the room, Lulan watched Liemo leave, then glanced toward the person resting on the bed, her mind growing even more confused. Everything that had happened today had completely overturned her understanding of the world. She struggled to push herself upright and noticed something unusual where she had been sitting. Liang Yun walked over with a complicated expression. "You should go take a shower first." Realizing what had occurred, Lulan's face flushed bright red. In the stairwell, Liemo gripped his right hand excitedly while holding a large machete in his left, hurrying nonstop toward the ground floor. "Come on, monsters. Let this grandpa show you the power of my golden finger." On the first floor, a man huddled inside a room, too terrified to move. Ever since the red moon appeared, his danger perception talent had been screaming warnings without pause. This talent allowed him to sense imminent threats, and it was the very reason he had survived until now. Yet standing before his level 2 door, he felt no sense of safety at all. Suddenly, a powerful instinct blared inside his mind. "Leave this room immediately." The man was stunned. "What? Go outside. That's suicide." Never before had his talent issued such an absurd command. But the oppressive sense of danger grew heavier, making it hard to breathe. Unable to resist the instinct urging him on, he threw open the door and sprinted out. The instant he stepped across the threshold, a strange figure clutching a black umbrella materialized out of thin air inside his room. "Damn, how did that thing get straight into my room?" There was no time to think. He ran for his life. In the blink of an eye, the dark figure teleported directly in front of him. The man's legs turned to jelly, and he dropped to his knees. Staring at the terrifying monster, despair washed over him, and he squeezed his eyes shut. But the pain he anticipated never came. Instead, a gust of wind whipped past his face. He trembled and opened his eyes, only to see a figure he had seen many times before standing before him. Liam-O had spotted the umbrella-wielding creature the moment he reached the first floor. Without hesitation, he lunged forward and kicked the monster hard, sending it crashing to the ground. He glanced briefly at the man on the floor, paid him no further attention, and charged straight at the umbrella creature as it scrambled back to its feet. Stunned by the powerful kick, the umbrella wielder twisted its head and saw a human charging toward it. It prepared to teleport away, yet the moment its body shifted, a fingertip landed precisely on its umbrella. In the next instant, the umbrella creature shuddered violently. The eyes beneath the umbrella canopy went blank, and it froze rigidly in place. "That's all you've got." Liam-O grinned and brought down his machete without hesitation. The blade sliced through the shadow as smoothly as cutting butter, splitting the monster cleanly in two. Experience plus 40. Loot. Silver coin times 10, timber times 10, pack of eaten preserved mustard tuber times 1. Weak? So it's just a mage that only knows how to teleport. Liam-O was surprised to find the creature possessed no abilities other than teleportation. He frowned at the meager items dropping from its corpse. Still, a smile soon spread across his face. His ability was the perfect counter to these monsters. Strip them of their ability to teleport, and they became easy prey. If he encountered enough of them, he would surely find valuable loot. Not far away, the man on the ground watched Liam-O eliminate the monster in mere seconds, utterly dumbfounded. He swallowed hard, his voice shaking. He's unbelievably strong. As he reeled in shock, he saw Liam-O burst out laughing. His expression and bearing looked eerie, far more frightening than the monster itself. A shudder ran through the man. He dared not stay any longer and scrambled away on hands and knees. Good grief, gaining power really comes at a cost. That man is terrifying. Liam-O paid no mind to the man scurrying off like an insect. He scanned his surroundings, eyes burning with fighting spirit. "I can take on 10 at once." The words had barely left his mouth when several dark figures flickered into existence, surrounding him. Liam-O grinned and slowly raised his right hand. Liam-O shot forward like lightning. At the same time, the surrounding umbrella wielders flickered and vanished from their positions. Silence fell over the stairwell. Cold scarlet moonlight streamed through the windows, painting the walls an eerie dark red. A sudden shift in airflow erupted behind him. The foremost umbrella wielder reappeared directly at his back. A gaping maw opened on its black umbrella, ready to sink into Liam-O's shoulder. Without turning his head, Liam-O reached backward with his right hand. His index finger touched the cold body of the umbrella creature. The monster stiffened instantly. The shadow beneath the umbrella blanked out. Its attack froze mid-air, unable to activate teleportation. Liam-O spun around. His machete whistled through the air in a horizontal slash, cutting cleanly through the shadow and slicing it diagonally in half. Experience plus 40. Loot. Silver coin times 8, body wash times 1, emergency biscuit times 1, blueprint. Advanced color, changing lamp times 1. Almost simultaneously, ripples formed on the left and right walls. Two more umbrella wielders emerged, attacking from both sides. Liam twisted his foot and stepped back, dodging the tip of the left umbrella. He struck the surface of the right umbrella with the flat of his blade, using the momentum to sweep his index finger across the canopy. The umbrella wielder on the right instantly locked up, shaking uncontrollably. During the fight, Liam-O noticed that the larger the area his finger made contact with, the longer the target remained immobilized. Realizing this, he fought with greater confidence. Several times he drove his fingertips straight into the partially intangible bodies of the monsters, holding them completely helpless. Seeing its companion trapped, the remaining monster on the left shifted to teleport and flee. But Liam-O anticipated the move. He leaned forward and pressed his fingertip against the top of its umbrella. Two shadowy creatures stood frozen side by side like wooden stakes. Liam-O wasted no time. Two swings of his machete followed, and two system notifications popped up one after another. Experience plus 40. Experience plus 40. Loot. Silver coin times 18, spirit crystal times 30, level 5 random blueprint times 1, catkin times 1, heart of space times 1, Tabriz handwoven carpet times 1. Within a dozen seconds, 3 umbrella wielders lay dead. The last two sensed the tide turning and flickered toward the staircase, attempting to escape upstairs. Liamo kicked the foremost one backward. As the second tried to teleport, he grabbed the edge of its umbrella and dragged it out of mid-air. He crouched down and tapped each umbrella surface one by one. He let out a snort, watching all of them blank out and stiffen. Running? Where do you think you're going? His blade rose and fell. 2 flashes later, silence returned to the stairwell. Liamo level 5. Gender, male. Room comfort, 18. HP, 150/150. Stamina, 130/150. Satiety, 90/100. Experience, 220 to 400. Constitution, 6. Speed, 6. Spirit, 6 + 3 Spirit Boost Ring. Talent, Random Affix. He glanced over his system panel. The 5 umbrella wielders had granted him 200 experience points. Not bad. A few more fights like this, and I'll hit level 6. In the past, he could never catch up to these teleporting monsters. Now, with reliable crowd control, fighting them was no different from chopping wooden posts. This ability truly is a god-tier skill. Liamo shook the black blood off his machete, a wide smile spreading across his face. Hidden in a corner not far away, Chun Yao peered secretly, using her concealment talent. She watched Liamo slay multiple monsters effortlessly. Every time his fingertip touched them, the umbrella wielders froze solid. Her mind raced. Could the monster's weakness be physical contact? The thought had barely formed when Liamo suddenly turned his head. Their gazes locked directly. Chun Yao's heart skipped a beat. Before she could react, Liamo blurred forward and lunged, extending his right hand. A figure materialized abruptly before her and collapsed onto the ground, convulsing with eyes rolled upward. Chun Yao? Liamo stared at the woman twitching on the ground in surprise. He had thought the teleport fluctuation belonged to an umbrella wielder. He did not expect it to be her. He sighed internally. Why wander down to the first floor at night looking for trouble when she could stay safely in her room? He lifted her up, carried her to the second floor, and set her down casually in the corridor. Without another thought, he headed back to the first floor to hunt monsters. He was just planning his next move when an explosion echoed in the distance. On the other side, Qianlai's group was far less fortunate. They had noticed the strange red moon early on and initially paid it no mind. It was only after one subordinate stared at the moon for several seconds that he stiffened and collapsed. His eyes rapidly shriveled and sank into their sockets. His body turned black, and life left him instantly. Panic spread through the group. Don't look at the sky. Keep your heads down. Armed with guns, they had believed they could move freely throughout the residential complex. They had stayed in Building 2 sorting supplies and failed to return before nightfall. They were still in Lulan's original apartment block. But the transformed moon and the umbrella wielders appearing directly before them shattered their overconfidence. Without Liamo's immobilizing ability, they could only fire their guns non-stop. Bullets could not hit the teleporting monsters, turning their firearms into useless metal clubs. Hold your ground. Maintain formation. Zone.With was shouted repeatedly, yet he could not halt the chaos. An umbrella wielder teleported behind a resident, firing his rifle. A large hand emerged from the umbrella canopy to clamp onto the man's shoulder. A gaping maw opened. The man was torn in two in an instant. Warm blood splattered across everyone nearby. They were already on the verge of mental collapse. They had only been ordinary people a few days prior, and had barely received basic training. They could barely hold their weapons steady. They had managed to keep their composure against the ants, but now their resolve crumbled. Many threw down their guns and fled in all directions. One man burst into tears. I can't fight anymore. I just want to go home. We can't beat these things. Run. Qianlai panted heavily as he sprinted aimlessly. In his panic, he spotted a level 3 door not far off. The umbrella wielders attempted to teleport inside multiple times, but were blocked. Hope ignited within him. He charged toward it madly. Open up. It's Qianlai. Let me in. The door slid open. Qianlai squeezed inside and saw the room was already packed with survivors. Taihu huddled in the corner with a grim expression. He moved to close the door, only to see Fong Bai stumble over. Qianlai scanned the room without hesitation. He grabbed a young man inside and kicked him outside. The man who had been kicked out stood dazed, pounding frantically on the door. I'm the owner of this room. Qianlai, I opened the door and saved you. You can't do this. The banging lasted only a few seconds before being replaced by the crisp sound of chewing. In the stairwell, Zhong.With remained calm. He had observed long ago, when the monsters attacked and fed, they stopped teleporting and left themselves exposed. He aimed his rifle at an umbrella wielder bent over its prey. Bang! Bang! The umbrella wielder feeding on the corpse was blasted to pieces and crashed onto the ground. Joy flashed across Zhong.With face, and he shouted, Don't panic. These creatures aren't invincible. No one listened. The fleeing survivors only raced toward every hiding spot, not daring to glance back. Zone.With watched his men scatter. His gaze turned cold. He slowly adjusted his rifle, aiming at the man running at the front. Bang! The runner's head exploded. A mix of blood and brain matter splattered across the wall. He stumbled forward and fell motionless. A dark shadow flickered onto the corpse. The umbrella opened wide, and the monster bit into the torso, beginning to feed. Zone.W's expression did not shift. He steadied his aim at the center of the umbrella and fired 2 successive shots. The bullets struck the same spot precisely. The umbrella wielder did not even struggle. But he was not satisfied. His gaze fell on one room. After seizing Building 2, the room had been used to hold captives from Lulan's building. More than a dozen unarmed prisoners were locked inside. He had planned to decide their fate once the situation stabilized. Zone.With tightened his grip on the gun and walked over without hesitation. Suppressed screams erupted from the huddled prisoners. They had listened to gunshots and screams outside for hours, terrified, pale, and crammed into the corners. When they saw Zone.With walk in with a rifle, they trembled, too afraid to cry loudly. "Get out here." Zone.W's voice was cold and unnegotiable. No one dared move. He stepped forward, grabbed the collar of the man closest to him, and dragged him outside. He struck the man's knees with the gun stock, forcing him onto his knees. The remaining prisoners shrank further backward. "I won't repeat myself. Come out, or I shoot all of you right now." A dozen minutes later, all prisoners were herded into the center of the first-floor lobby, packed tightly together, shaking with fear. One man fainted from terror at the sight of wandering shadows near the entrance. The rest cried and begged, "Spare us, please. He's going to use us as bait." Zone.With retreated to the cover of the stair landing. He raised his gun and aimed at the lobby, calm as if waiting for prey. Captain Han Ting, who had followed him, looked pale. His fingers tightened around his rifle, his voice urgent. "You can't do this. They are living people. This is no different from murder." Zone.With glanced at him, his expression solemn, tone heavy. "Han Ting, this is the end of the world. Mercy is a luxury we cannot afford. I don't want to do this either. Look at how many umbrella wielders are outside. How many of us would survive a direct fight? Sacrificing these dozen people lets the rest of our men live. We can gain experience to level up. Only then can we protect more people later." His voice was steady and persuasive, as if he truly acted for the greater good. "Sentimentality saves no one. I will bear the blame. If I can lead everyone through this night, any price is worth paying." As he spoke, the strong scent of living humans drew every umbrella wielder roaming the corridor. 7 or 8 dark figures flickered into the lobby air and dove downward. Screams and cries merged into one. The thick stench of blood filled the air. The umbrella wielders landed on their victims and began feeding, completely rooted to the spot, unable to teleport. Now, Zone.W's eyes sharpened. He pulled the trigger. Bang, bang, bang. His marksmanship was as precise as a machine. Every bullet struck the center of an umbrella canopy. Monster after another was destroyed mid-feast. Han Ting leaned against the wall, squeezing his eyes shut so hard his knuckles whitened. Screams and gunfire echoed together. His stomach churned. He could not bear to imagine the scene unfolding in the lobby. When the last umbrella wielder collapsed, a system notification echoed inside Zone.W's mind. Current level 5. A warm current washed over his body, instantly erasing all exhaustion. Zone.W lowered his rifle and stared at his improved attributes on the system panel. The tension in his jaw eased. He glanced at the few, barely surviving prisoners left in the lobby. No trace of guilt could be seen on his face, only certainty. Those who achieve great things must set trivial morality aside. He had done nothing wrong. Meanwhile, the first-floor lobby lay in ruins. Monster remains littered the ground. Sticky black blood splattered walls and floor. Several civilian corpses lay scattered in the corners. Their eyes remained wide open in blank shock even in death. Residents had watched through their doors for hours. They saw Li-Mo immobilize the teleporting monsters with a single touch, cutting them down effortlessly while valuable items dropped from the corpses. Greed grew in their hearts. These monsters don't look that tough. I could take them on too. After witnessing rare loot drop once more, one man could no longer restrain his excitement. He threw open his door and charged outside. The outcome was predictable. Without Li-Mo's strength, they rushed straight to their deaths. Li-Mo paid no attention to these reckless people rushing to their doom. Right now, he stood atop an umbrella-wielder chieftain, twice the size of ordinary specimens, repeatedly using his ability. It was not cruelty. The chieftain possessed extremely high resistance. His skill could only hold it immobilized for 2 to 3 seconds at a time. The moment contact broke, it would teleport and counterattack. He had to keep reapplying the immobilization to interrupt its attacks and slowly wear it down. Roar! The chieftain beneath him roared continuously. Its struggles gradually weakened until it finally fell still. Liamo wiped black blood from his face and gasped heavily. Damn, it's finally dead. My hand is nearly worn out. Experience plus 60. Level up, level 6. Constitution plus 1, speed plus 1. Max HP increased to 160. Warm energy surged through him, washing away most of the exhaustion from an entire night of fighting. Outside the building, dawn broke quietly. Liamo had fought non-stop through the night. Thankfully, his rewards matched his efforts. Gold coin times 10, blood umbrella times 1, spirit crystal times 50, restaurant blueprint times 1, Godfather suit times 1. Liamo's eyes lit up reading the notifications. He summoned the blood umbrella into his hand. An umbrella of deep crimson appeared. Its ribs glinted with cold metallic sheen. Faint blood red patterns swirled across the canopy, giving it an ominous aura. Blood umbrella. Description: when opened, creates a 10-meter teleportation zone beneath the canopy. Each teleport costs 10 HP. Liamo read the description and recognized it as a supreme artifact. With his avatar skill, he had no reason to fear the HP cost. Combined with his immobilization ability, he could teleport behind enemies and disable them instantly. The perfect combo. He opened the blood umbrella immediately. A faint red barrier wrapped around him. The glow lent him an eerie aura. Liamo focused his thought. His vision blurred, and he reappeared on the staircase 10 meters away. 10 HP was deducted as expected. He closed the umbrella and examined the restaurant blueprint next. Restaurant blueprint materials required: Heart of Space times 1, gold coin times 5, iron block times 60, timber times 50, spirit crystal times 40. Description: constructs an independent restaurant space complete with full kitchen equipment. Boosts overall room comfort. An essential construction for any settlement. Liamo stored the blueprint in his backpack, feeling satisfied. At last, he would have a proper place to prepare meals. No more monsters appeared outside. He turned and walked upstairs. He glanced along the second-floor corridor as he passed. Xinyao was nowhere to be seen where he had left her. Liamo thought nothing of it and continued up to the 15th floor, unlocking his door. He now possessed all required materials plus new expansion blueprints. He could hardly wait to build arrow towers and the restaurant. Inside the room, Lulan sat on the sofa wrapped in a thin coat. She clutched the hem of her jacket tightly, keeping her head down and avoiding looking at the two women in the room. At the sound of the door opening, she shot to her feet, her gaze fixed firmly on the doorway, a burning emotion flickering deep in her eyes. Liamo pushed the door open. A faint smell of blood clung to his body as he stowed his bloodstained machete into his backpack. He lifted his eyes and met Lulan's stare. Raising an eyebrow, he pulled the door shut behind him. Liamo. Lulan called his name through gritted teeth, the tips of her ears flushing involuntarily. What did you mean last night? What do you mean? What did I mean? Liamo feigned confusion, walking over to sit at the table as he slowly wiped the stains off his fingers. Don't play dumb. Lulan took a step forward, her chest rising and falling. Last night you suddenly moved behind me and used that strange ability of yours on me. She paused here, embarrassment overwhelming her frustration, her cheeks growing warm. I froze completely and couldn't move an inch. Were you treating me like some test subject? She would never forget the stiffness that had overcome her the night before. Every muscle in her body had stopped responding, trembling uncontrollably. Strange tingling sensations washed over her from head to toe. By the time she regained control of her body, Liamo was already gone. She had lain awake all night, torn between irritation and awkwardness. She shook her head, trying to dismiss stray thoughts. Right now her focus was only on by Meng Meng, and nothing would change that. Liamo let out a low laugh. He glanced at her flushed ear tips, not a trace of remorse on his face. What else was I supposed to do? I'd just gotten a new ability and needed to test its effects. Truth be told, you helped me out a great deal. Bai Ming Ming poked her head out from the side, shrinking her neck as she tried to smooth things over quietly. Please don't argue. Brotherly definitely didn't mean to tease you. He probably just couldn't resist testing his new power. Lulan pouted the moment she heard that. Ming Ming, why are you taking his side? Ignoring the exchange, Liamo began pulling items out of his backpack. A pile of materials clattered onto the table, alongside two faintly glowing blueprints. Lulan's attention was instantly drawn to them, the words on her lips dying in her throat. What are these? Blueprints for a dining hall and an arrow tower. Liamo tapped his fingertip against the blueprints, his expression turning serious. I've gathered all the materials. We'll build both of them today. The dining hall will boost the room's comfort level, and the arrow tower can automatically watch for monsters outside. We won't need to keep constant watch over the corridor at night anymore. Liang Yun leaned forward curiously to look, while Bai Meng stared wide-eyed, full of wonder. Dining hall blueprint required construction materials: space heart times 1, gold coins times 5, iron blocks times 60, lumber times 50, spirit crystals times 40. Materials available. Please select construction location. With a thought from Liamo, a translucent phantom outline of a dining hall appeared on the wall. He positioned it along the same wall as the bathroom, close to the front door. Once satisfied with the placement, he confirmed construction. The next instant, a countdown appeared, 2000 hours. While waiting, Liamo took out the arrow tower blueprint. Basic automatic defense arrow tower. Required materials: gold coins times 50, steel times 148, lumber times 165, defense heart times 1, spirit crystals times 100. The phantom expanded outward immediately, a pale blue barrier slowly unfurling. It enveloped the entire room, its edges flickering as it adjusted its range. Liamo quickly understood the design. The arrow tower could either be mounted separately on doors or windows, or form a full area defense anchored to the safe house space. Its design was remarkably versatile. Without hesitation, he chose full room coverage. When it came to defenses, wider coverage was always better. Construct arrow tower? Yes. He confirmed the build, and another countdown bubble materialized above his head, 25:00. After arranging everything, Liamo let out a long breath. These two projects had drained most of the resources he had accumulated over time, nearly emptying his reserves entirely. If he hadn't earned money selling supplies obtained from golden treasure chests, he would not have a single silver coin to his name right now. 20 minutes passed in the blink of an eye. The wall where the dining hall phantom had stood silently expanded inward, and the room visibly grew more spacious. The space that had felt cramped with 5 people and a dog now felt open and comfortable. A neat, self-contained dining hall materialized completely, fitted with cabinets, a cooking range, dining tables, and chairs. It looked clean and well designed. There was even a sink connected to a circulating water pipeline. Room comfort +10. The system notification chimed. The room's comfort rating jumped straight from 18 to 28. Liamo was not surprised by the wall's expansion. He had long suspected this construction relied on spatial folding, functioning only within the safe house, without impacting neighboring rooms. If the walls physically pushed outward, the residents next door would have been crushed. Bai Meng was the first to dash into the dining hall, her eyes sparkling. She wandered around touching everything, thoroughly excited. Lulan stood where she was, looking at Liamo with a flicker of surprise. It was the first time she had seen anyone build a separate dining hall inside a safe house. Staring at the tidy dining space, she thought of the other survivors. Most of them were still struggling to upgrade their doors and windows, fighting just to survive each night. Yet the man in front of her already possessed enough surplus resources to expand his living space. If others learned of this gap, they would be consumed with envy. She took a deep breath, realizing for the first time that aligning herself with Liamo had been the best decision she had ever made. Seeing how delighted Bai Meng was, Lulan stepped forward and naturally draped an arm over her shoulder. Meng, I'll cook delicious meals for you from now on. Bai Meng looked up at her, mouth slightly agape, eyes shining brighter. Sister Lan, you can cook? A trace of awkwardness crossed Lulan's face. She cleared her throat and turned her gaze away. Of course, I'll show you my skills sometime. Her mind drifted to the strange bubbling sludge she had managed to cook before. She resolved secretly to practice cooking when she got the chance. Liamo paid no attention to the two women and checked the newly completed arrow tower. The room itself looked unchanged, save for a control panel embedded into the wall beside the entrance. Basic automatic defense arrow tower. Durability. 50/50 arrows require manual replenishment. Upgrade requirements. Intermediate automatic arrow tower blueprint times 1, spirit crystals times 170, gold coins times 80, steel times 50, random element stone times 1. Description: automatically engages monsters within a 50-meter radius and collects monster drops. Liamo's eyes lit up after reading the description. The automatic loot collection function was incredibly practical. His telekinesis ability could only be used twice a day. If valuable items dropped outside the building in hard-to-reach spots, retrieving them would be troublesome. The arrow tower solved that problem. Random element stone. Liamo stared at the unfamiliar material name, immediately thinking of flaming arrowheads. I can look for some when I head to the ant nest this time. Just then, a strange odor drifted to his nose. He recalled fighting non-stop through the night. His clothes were filthy. He stripped off his dirty clothes and headed to the bathroom for a hot shower. When he stepped out, toweling his damp hair, he felt thoroughly refreshed. Liang Yun's eyes lit up at the sight of him. She walked over with a smile. "Master, you look even more handsome." Liamo smiled to himself. The passive effect from bath time boost was still active, probably because I've always had natural charm. He was about to find clean clothes when he remembered the Godfather's suit dropped by the umbrella bearer last night. With a thought, a crisp white suit appeared in his hands, paired with a dark red tie. Godfather's suit. Description: self-cleaning and self-repairing. Wearing it enhances your aura and grants resistance to extreme heat and cold. Elegance never fades. Liamo blinked. He had expected nothing more than ordinary clothing. He had not anticipated the practical self-maintenance feature and weather resistance. He no longer needed to stockpile spare clothes or wear bulky, clumsy winter coats. No more worrying about clothing. He hung his old dirty clothes up for trade on the marketplace and slipped on the suit. The moment he put it on, he felt a distinct difference. It was far more comfortable than any outfit he owned. Liang Yun watched him, stunned by the sudden shift in his aura and imposing presence. She stepped closer beside him. Bai Mingming also stared, cheeks flushing faintly as she shyly looked away. Lu Lan felt the change most sharply. She had only experienced such imposing aura from ruthless business leaders before the collapse of society. Watching Li Mo's composed demeanor, the tangled feelings she had tried to suppress stirred again. Noting their reactions, Liamo nodded to himself. He laid out the carpet he had obtained earlier. Once everything was settled, he walked toward the door. It was time to head down to the underground ant nest and claim the purple reward that belonged to him.